Chapter 4384. Bubbles was no match for him. She retreated and her face turned pale. Evidently, there were differences in strength between those with 11 stars of battle prowess. Although Yi Qianyue and Bubble both possessed 11 stars of battle prowess, Bubble had just reached 11 stars of battle prowess. Clearly he was not a match for Yi Qianyue. This is the first time I've seen a mere space-time spirit mouse with such battle strength. Now I'll give you a chance. Submit to me and work for me in the future, and I'll spare your life. Yi Qianyue said, staring at Bubbles with bright eyes. Obviously he had taken a fancy to Bubbles' talent. Space-time spirit mice could control time and space. They were a top race in the universe and the strong ones could open wormholes. However, this was the first time he had seen such a powerful space-time spirit mouse. He had never even heard of it, let alone seen it. If he could take her in, she would definitely be a great help. Now, there were a total of 9 sons and daughters of heaven in the 4 heavenly palace. Not to mention the 4 heavenly palace, there were 2 sons of heaven in the heavenly palace where he was. They were each other's biggest competitors. In addition, there were some latecomers who were also eyeing covetously. He needed more and stronger forces to support him. With Bubbles' talent, her achievements would be amazing in the future. He was really tempted to have her as his right-hand woman. Submit to you? Wake up, it's daytime now. Bubbles curled her lips, obviously mocking Yi Qianyue for daydreaming. By the side, Lu Ming was very cooperative and laughed out loud. Yi Qianyue's face was gloomy. You'd better think it through. If you follow me, you will have power and resources. You can get anything you want in this universe. Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue? Now, I want the head of the Lord of Heaven. Can you give it to me? Bubbles continued to curl her lips. You're digging your own grave. Yi Qianyue was completely furious. His eyes were extremely cold. He clenched his right hand and the power of heavenly punishment erupted. Countless lightning began to condense into a battle sword. At the same time, his left hand also underwent a great change. A layer of dusky power was emitted from it. Lu Ming's pupils shrank. His heart was beating wildly. This was the power of heavenly annihilation. Yi Qianyue had actually managed to control 2 types of supreme heavenly powers. One was the power of heavenly punishment, the other was the power of heavenly extermination. Although the heavenly annihilation force did not seem to be as powerful as the heavenly punishment force, it was absolutely terrifying for a single person to control 2 types of heavenly powers. Lu Ming had only seen 2 types of celestial powers in the heavenly palace. Kill! Yi Qianyue shouted. His body shot towards the bubble like an arrow. He waved both of his palms. 2 types of supreme heavenly power intertwined and blasted towards the bubble. It was even more powerful than before. Lu Ming's expression changed and his aura burst out, wanting to lend Bubble a hand. At the same time, Bubble also unleashed her full strength. She activated her space-time power to the extreme. Boundless space-time power formed a space-time cage that pressed down on Yi Qianyue. Under Yi Qianyue's attacks, the space-time power continued to crumble. Whoosh! Lu Ming transformed into a long spear and stabbed towards Yi Qianyue. Get lost! Yi Qianyue blasted out a palm and hit Lu Ming, sending Lu Ming flying. Lu Ming felt his qi and blood surging. He spat out a mouthful of blood and his face turned pale. However, at this time, Autumn Moon also attacked. A 9-colored machete slashed towards Yi Qianyue. The machete qi whistled with terrifying power. Yi Qianyue's expression changed because he felt a fatal threat. At the critical moment, he blasted out his right palm and collided with the 9-colored machete. With a loud bang, a violent roar, the energy swept out in all directions. Yi Qianyue's attack was finally blocked, and he was forced to retreat several steps. Autumn Moon and Bubble also retreated and then stood side by side. You have also reached 11-star battle strength. Yi Qianyue looked at Autumn Moon with great shock. He was really shocked. When did 11-star battle prowess become so commonplace? Why were there so many of them popping up one after another? Most of the sons of heaven and daughters of heaven only had 11-star battle strength. The 4 great celestial palaces added together only had 9 sons of heaven or daughters of heaven. How rare was that? But now 2 of them had appeared in a row. How could he not be shocked? Not only Yi Qianyue but the other heavenly humans and the geniuses on the universe genius list were also shocked. In their eyes, the nearly invincible son of heaven had actually been blocked by someone. Heaven's punishment, heaven's extermination, heaven's execution. Yi Qianyue roared. 2 types of heaven's powers surrounded his body. He raised his aura to the peak and continued to attack Bubble and the others. Young master, don't attack first. Leave it to us. Autumn Moon said. Her body was enveloped by 9-colored light. She controlled the 9-colored machete and attacked Yichu Qianyue. Bubble assisted her with the space-time force. Lu Ming was quite depressed. However, his strength was still a little weak. There was a big gap between him and Yichu Qianyue. Even if he attacked, the effect was very limited. Now he could only rely on Autumn, Moon and Bubble. Boom. Boom. The two sides collided again. The scene was constantly exploding. After more than 10 moves, there was no winner. This guy's battle strength has reached the limit of 11 stars. Lu Ming thought. His face was a little solemn. The geniuses of the heavenly human tribe could control multiple types of heaven's powers, which greatly increased their battle strength. Yichu Qianyue was so powerful just by controlling 2 types of heaven's powers. Then, among the younger generation of the heavenly human tribe, was there anyone who could control 3 or even 4 types of heaven's powers? If there was, then it would be terrifying. Lu Ming felt that he had underestimated the heavenly human tribe before. Maybe there was someone who could compete with him in the heavenly human tribe. No, not maybe, it was very likely. After all, there was more than one taboo power in history, but in the end, it did not overthrow the heavenly palace. The heavenly palace was still the ruler of the primitive universe. This was very clear. Boom. 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 The two sides continued to exchange more than 20 moves. In the blink of an eye, there was still no winner. Yichu Qianyue's face became more and more gloomy and anxious. Because he found that he could not do anything to Autumn, Moon and Bubble, let alone kill Lu Ming. All of you attack together. Yichu Qianyue shouted to the others. Attack. Kill. The others had been waiting for this moment. Previously, Yichu Qianyue asked them not to attack, so they had some scruples. Now that Yichu Qianyue asked them to attack, how could they not attack? Immediately they attacked. Of course, their target was Lu Ming. More than a dozen attacks were aimed at Lu Ming, and a few attacks were aimed at Autumn, Moon and Bubble. Trying to win with numbers? It's not realistic for me. Bubble shouted softly. The area covered by the power of time and space rapidly expanded, enveloping the people on the heavenly palace's side. Chapter 4385. The space-time power spread out and enveloped everyone in the heavenly palace. These people were suppressed by the space-time power and their speed slowed down. Their strength was also suppressed and their strength was greatly reduced. Autumn, Moon and Bubbles easily dodged and did not affect them much. Swoosh. Lu Ming also moved. His body was like a phantom as he pounced toward the people in the heavenly palace. In the space-time power, Lu Ming's speed was not affected at all. Instead, it became faster. After a few flashes, he dodged the attacks one by one. Then he rushed toward an 8-star heavenly human prodigy and stabbed his spear at him. That person was shocked and wanted to dodge. However, the space-time power around him kept pressing toward him. It was as if he had fallen into a quagmire and his speed was greatly affected. For a moment he could not dodge at all. He could only take it head-on. He roared and unleashed his strongest heavenly power. It turned into a battle axe and slashed at Lu Ming. With a loud bang, the two attacks collided. In the instant of the collision, the battle axe formed by the heavenly human tribe's prodigy shattered. The spear light was like a rainbow piercing through the sun, piercing straight through the heavenly human tribe's forehead. The heavenly human prodigy's head exploded like a watermelon and he died. Lu Ming rushed past and the heavenly human prodigy's storage ring fell into Lu Ming's hand. Lu Ming did not stop and continued to kill the next heavenly human prodigy. This prodigy had a 9-star battle strength. When he saw Lu Ming charging toward him, he was shocked and quickly retreated. However, in the space-time power, his speed was no match for Lu Ming's. He was caught up and suffered Lu Ming's terrifying attacks. Although he had a 9-star battle strength and was very powerful, it was a pity that he met Lu Ming. Lu Ming now had a 13-star battle strength. Even if this heavenly human prodigy was at his peak, he would not be a match for Lu Ming. Now that he was suppressed by the space-time power, the gap between him and Lu Ming was even greater. Poof! Blood splattered in all directions as blood-curdling screams resounded throughout the heavens and earth. Instakill, it was still an instakill. That young genius of the 9th great supreme god layer, who had the strength of a 9-star cultivator, had been killed by Lu Ming in an instant. His ring had also fallen into Lu Ming's hands. You're courting death. Yichu Qianyue roared. The murderous intent in his eyes almost materialized. Hundreds of pure white lightning bolts flickered continuously on his right palm, producing crackling sounds. Among them, dozens of pure white lightning bolts struck towards Lu Ming. As they neared Lu Ming, the lightning bolts grew larger and larger. Each bolt was thicker than a person's waist and filled with a terrifying aura. Lu Ming originally wanted to kill the next person, but in the face of these dozens of lightning bolts, he had no choice but to focus on dealing with them. Lu Ming used his movement technique and kept dodging. At the same time he used his spear to block. After all, this was only a part of Yi Chu Qianyue's strength. It was not his full strength. Lu Ming could still block it. He thrust out his spear, and destroyed the lightning formed by the power of the heavenly punishment. Everyone back off. Yi Chu Qianyue roared. The lightning bolts mixed with the power of the heavenly punishment kept striking towards Qiuqiuyu and Bubbles. At the same time a part of them struck towards Lu Ming. The purpose of such a large-scale attack was to buy time for the other people of the Heavenly Palace to retreat. He was not being kind and wanted to save the other people of the Heavenly Palace. But if these people of the Heavenly Palace died, he would also be implicated. After all, he was the leader here. He was the only son of heaven. In other words, these people were under his leadership. If they were to besiege and kill Lu Ming and the rest under his leadership and suffer heavy losses, it would be a huge blow to his reputation and reputation. His competitors would definitely use this to attack him. It would be very unfavorable for him. Therefore, after Lu Ming had killed 2 young geniuses of the heavenly human tribe, he could only use his full strength to cover the retreat of the others. Under the cover of Yi Chu Qianyue, the other people of the heavenly palace quickly retreated and gathered together. Yi Chu Qianyue also stopped attacking Qiuqiuyu and Bubbles. He also quickly retreated and gathered with the others. In this way it would be difficult for Lu Ming and the others to attack. Yi Chu Qianyue and the others kept retreating and finally got out of the range of the power of time and space. They stared at Lu Ming and the other 2 with extremely strong killing intent, but they did not dare to act rashly. Mu Yun? No, I should call you Lu Ming. Yi Chu Qianyue stared at Lu Ming and said. The 9 sons and daughters of heaven of the heavenly palace knew Lu Ming's real body movement. They knew that Mu Yun was Lu Ming and Lu Ming was Mu Yun. They were the same person. Lu Ming smiled faintly and did not deny it. However, some people of the heavenly palace widened their eyes in shock. What? Mu Yun is Lu Ming? Are they the same person? How is this possible? How did his life origin aura change? Some people exclaimed and found it hard to believe. However, these words were said by Yi Chu Qianyue. Looking at Lu Ming's expression, it was obvious that he had admitted it. They had no choice but to believe it. This was really a piece of shocking news. Lu Ming, you can only hide behind 2 women and struggle at death's door. Without those 2 women, I can kill you with one hand. Yi Chu Qianyue sneered and his voice was full of sarcasm. You're just a little older than me and your cultivation is a little higher than mine. If you have the ability, why don't you fight me at the same level? Lu Ming said sarcastically. Cultivation is also a kind of capital. A high cultivation is also a kind of talent. Are you going to ask a divine master to deliberately suppress his cultivation to compete with a divine king or a divine master? Isn't that ridiculous? Some people are just so talented. No matter how much time you give them, it will be difficult for them to improve their cultivation. Do I have to suppress my cultivation to fight with someone weaker than me every time I meet him? What's the point of cultivating for all the living beings in the world? Yi Chu Qianyue sneered and continued to mock him. This time Lu Ming did not say anything. He really had nothing to say. He could only use practical actions to trample on the other party's face in the future. That was the best counterattack. You talk so much nonsense. Are all the heavenly human tribe like this? Do you only rely on your mouth when you're not strong enough? Seeing Lu Ming being scolded, Qiuyu stopped talking and responded. Yi Chu Qianyue glanced at Qiuyu with a gloomy face and secretly swore to himself that he would make Qiuyu pay the price in the future. Your Excellency, what should we do next? Behind Yi Chu Qianyue, a heavenly human tribe genius asked in a low voice. Continue to comprehend those primitive ancient characters. We'll find a chance to deal with Lu Ming later, Yi Chu Qianyue said. After saying that, he turned around and walked back to the golden light wall in front of the valley. At this time, Lu Ming and the other 2 finally had time to look at the golden light wall. At first glance, the 3 of them were shocked. They saw that there were words on the golden light wall. However, the 3 of them did not recognize any of these words. These words looked very ancient and very strange. They looked like paintings but also like words. For example, there was a word that looked like a flame. However, the 3 of them could tell that it was not a painting but a word. Chapter 4386. Are they hieroglyphs? Chiu Autumn Moon whispered. What are hieroglyphs? Lu Ming asked. Master once said that hieroglyphs are words from the last era. They were popular in the Eldritch continent back then. They looked like patterns and words, so they were called hieroglyphs. They are the oldest words. Some people call them the Eldritch Ancient Words. Chiao Autumn Moon explained in a low voice. I see. Hieroglyphs are quite appropriate. Lu Ming nodded. The three of them stepped forward and came to the Golden Wall. The Golden Wall was huge and it separated the valley completely. It was tens of thousands of miles wide. They were far away from the heavenly human tribe. The three of them looked at the Golden Wall carefully. The hieroglyphs on the Golden Wall of Light emitted a strange light. The strange thing was that they were constantly moving on the Wall of Light. Sometimes they would move far away and sometimes they would move back. It was as if they were flowing in a small river. What a strange feeling, Lu Ming whispered and stared at the hieroglyphs. The hieroglyphs gave people a feeling that they were extremely ancient and contained endless mystery. It was as if every hieroglyph contained endless mysteries. However, the profundity of this technique was difficult to comprehend, and the things that it contained were completely different from the current cultivation system. These hieroglyphs are very strange. Do they contain the cultivation methods or secret arts of the last era? Chiao Autumn Moon guessed. According to the information left by Dandan, only by comprehending some of the mysteries of the words on the wall can we pass through this golden wall and enter the real core of the 5 Elements Immortal Mountain to obtain the 5 Elements Immortal Tier. At this moment, Bubbles said. It seems that these words are indeed extraordinary. Let's begin. Lu Ming said. The three of them each chose a place to sit down and then stared at the hieroglyphs on the golden wall seriously. The golden wall seemed to be magnified in Lu Ming's eyes. Words after words flowed in Lu Ming's eyes. Lu Ming entered a state of ethereal state and tried his best to decipher the hieroglyphs, hoping to comprehend some mysteries. Of course, he also paid attention to the surroundings. If there was any danger, he would be able to react in time. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. However, Lu Ming did not comprehend anything. However, even though he didn't comprehend anything, he was still able to make some headway. These hieroglyphs don't seem to contain a cultivation method, but an existence similar to a secret technique, Lu Ming pondered. However, the cultivation method of the previous epoch was different from the current one. Although these hieroglyphs contained something similar to a secret technique, they were actually not a secret technique. They were very profound and Lu Ming still could not figure them out. Actually, thinking about it, it made sense. Those hieroglyphs were definitely not that easy to comprehend. Yichu Chengyue and the others had likely been here for several years. Yet, they were still trapped outside, unable to pass through the golden wall of light. Yichu Chengyue, to be able to become the son of heaven, his talent must be extremely high. His perception must also be top-notch. Even after spending so much time, he still couldn't comprehend it. It was clear that these hieroglyphs were definitely not that simple. At the same time, Lu Ming and the other two felt a sense of urgency. They wanted to comprehend it as soon as possible, pass through the golden wall, and obtain the 5 Elements Immortal Tier. If the people of the heavenly human tribe were one step ahead of them, it would be troublesome. After all, they were a few years late. Let's try the Primordial God Stone. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The Primordial God Stone was incomparably profound. Legend had it that it was a treasure from the previous epoch. The Lord of the Primordial Divine Court relied on the Primordial God Stone to comprehend the 3,000 primordial secret techniques. Lu Ming relied on the Primordial God Stone and other primordial secret techniques as a foundation to successfully comprehend the heaven-breaking form. Could the Primordial God Stone help him comprehend these hieroglyphs? It was also an item from the previous epoch. It should be helpful, right? Lu Ming was not very sure, but he could only give it a try. Lu Ming's mind sank into the Primordial God Stone and merged with it. But, in his sea of consciousness, strange patterns suddenly appeared on the Primordial God Stone. Looking at these patterns, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. These patterns looked somewhat similar to the hieroglyphs on the Golden Wall of Light. This had never appeared before. In the past, when Lu Ming comprehended the primordial secret techniques or the heaven-breaking form, some patterns also appeared on the Primordial God Stone. But those patterns were completely different from the ones now. Let's see the effect. Lu Ming suppressed the fluctuations in his heart and continued to look at the hieroglyphs on the Golden Wall of Light. This time there was an obvious change. The hieroglyphs on the Golden Wall of Light seemed to have something more magical in his eyes. It was a wonderful feeling. That was, the hieroglyphs on the Golden Wall of Light were not so obscure and difficult to understand. Lu Ming had a strange understanding in his heart. The Primordial God Stone is really useful. It can help me comprehend. This is great. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Originally, the people of the heavenly human race had entered a few years earlier than them and comprehended a few more years. This made him very uncertain. He was afraid that they would suddenly succeed, pass through the golden wall of light, and take the 5 elements fairy tier first. Now he finally had some confidence. Immediately, Lu Ming focused his mind and comprehended with all his might. These hieroglyphs slowly seemed to come alive in Lu Ming's eyes. They seemed to have turned into flames, mountains, and even different creatures displaying their own mysteries. It's really a kind of secret technique. It's used to attack or assist, Lu Ming whispered. He understood more and more in his heart, and his understanding of these hieroglyphs also became deeper and deeper. However, after all, it was Lu Ming's first time coming into contact with this kind of hieroglyphs and this secret technique of the last era. It was still very difficult to comprehend it successfully. Even with the help of the primordial god stone, it was not that easy. Time passed day by day. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. The people of the heavenly human race still had not comprehended it. At this time, Lu Ming's understanding of the hieroglyphs had improved a lot. Sometimes, his hands would involuntarily dance. His fingertips would pass through the air, drawing mysterious patterns in the air. Young Master is indeed the young master. He's always so powerful. On the side, Autumn Moon's beautiful eyes sparkled, and her face was full of admiration. Brother Lu Ming is so powerful. Dandan is right. Only Brother Lu Ming can save him. Bubbles' face was also full of smiles. The two of them only felt that their heads were swollen after comprehending it for a year. They only felt that their heads were swollen, and they did not understand anything at all. However, Lu Ming had obviously taken a big step forward and they were convinced. Let's continue to comprehend it. It's not that we don't trust the young master, but we have to be careful, Autumn Moon said to Bubbles. Okay. Bubbles nodded and continued to comprehend. In the blink of an eye, another 2 years had passed. Chapter 4387. Another 2 years passed. In these 2 years, Lu Ming's comprehension of the pictographic characters was increasing every day. In these 2 years, Lu Ming had made great progress. Although he hadn't fully comprehended it, he was already starting to understand it. Under the golden wall of light, Lu Ming's figure flashed and his hands danced in a mysterious trajectory. Between his hands, there were either mountains, flames, or divine weapons that slashed down, unpredictable and immensely powerful. This seemed to be a kind of seal technique. Although it looked similar to the current secret technique, the way it was operated was completely different. When this seal technique was operated, there seemed to be a mysterious chi gathering between heaven and earth, which could burst out a terrifying power. At this time, Lu Ming had a kind of enlightenment. He felt that he could use this seal technique to pass through the golden light wall. Autumn Moon, Bubbles, wait for me here. I'll give it a try. Lu Ming said. Come on, Brother Lu Ming. You can definitely do it. Bubbles waved her small fist and cheered for Lu Ming. Autumn Moon also smiled. She didn't need to say anything. She definitely believed in Lu Ming. Lu Ming took a step forward and appeared under the golden light wall. Then, his hands danced and operated the seal technique that he had comprehended from the pictographic characters. His hands seemed to have turned into flames and blasted out. When the flames blasted on the golden light wall shook violently. Circles of ripples spread out in all directions. It works. Continue. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. It seemed that his guess was right. There was no need to fully comprehend those pictographic characters. As long as he comprehended a part of them, he could pass through the golden light wall. Immediately, Lu Ming continued to use the pictographic character seal technique. His hands danced rapidly and turned into a mountain again, bombarding the golden light wall, causing the golden light wall to shake even more violently. In the distance, about 10,000 li away, Yi Chu Qianyue and the others were still comprehending the pictographic characters. They all had the strength of the 9th great supreme god layer, so they weren't in a hurry to concoct the great desolate pellets. They also understood that this pictographic character was definitely a great opportunity. If they could comprehend it, it would be very useful to them in the future. Therefore, even though they had comprehended very little after so many years, they still did not want to leave and continued to comprehend here. Right at this moment, the golden wall of light began to tremble and ripple. What happened? Why did the wall of light suddenly shake? The people of the celestial race cried out. The tremors are coming from over there. That's Lu Ming and the others. Someone shouted. Could it be that Lu Ming and the others have already comprehended the ancient characters and are breaking through the golden light wall? As soon as this voice came out, everyone's faces turned ugly, including Yi Chu Qianyue. Let's go and take a look, Yi Chu Qianyue said in a cold voice. His figure flashed and rushed in the direction of Lu Ming's group. The others followed closely behind Yi Qianyue. The distance of 10,000 miles was covered in the blink of an eye. Soon they saw Lu Ming and the others. They also saw that Lu Ming was attacking the golden light wall. Sure enough, Lu Ming had succeeded. Damn it, Yi Qianyue roared. His face was distorted and became extremely ferocious. He had spent 7 or 8 years to comprehend these pictographic characters, but Lu Ming had succeeded in just a few years and started to attack the golden light wall. Jealousy, extreme jealousy. At this moment, Yi Qianyue felt that he was about to be burned by the fire of jealousy. Kill them, don't let them pass through the golden light wall. Yi Qianyue roared. His body was filled with cold killing intent as he rushed madly towards Lu Ming and the others. The others did the same and rushed towards Lu Ming and the others. Stop them, don't let them disturb the young master. Autumn Moon shouted. In her chest, the sacred heart of 9 orifices was beating violently. 9 colors of light filled the air and rushed towards Yi Qianyue and the others. Don't you dare disturb brother Lu Ming. Bubbles also rushed out. The spacetime force filled the entire void and shrouded all the heavenly human tribe. Autumn Moon and Bubbles did not want to kill the enemies. They only wanted to stop Yi Qianyue and the others. The two of them cooperated seamlessly. For a moment, Yi Qianyue and the others could not rush over. Lu Ming was not distracted. He wholeheartedly operated the pictographic characters to attack the golden light wall. The golden light wall shook more and more violently. At the center of Lu Ming's attack, a pit slowly appeared. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He seized the time and attacked continuously. With a boom, the light wall was blasted open, forming a hole that only one person could pass through. Autumn Moon, Bubbles, I'm going in. Lu Ming shouted. Young master, don't worry. Leave this to us. Brother Lu Ming, go in quickly. These people can't do anything to us. Autumn Moon and Bubbles quickly responded. Damn it, kill. Yi Qianyue roared wildly and attacked frantically. However, it was useless. He was focused on and was wrapped in layers of spacetime force. Then Autumn Moon attacked him fiercely. He could not rush over in a short time. At this moment, Lu Ming took a step forward and dashed into the hole, disappearing from sight. Although Autumn Moon and Bubbles had to face Yi Qianyue and the others outside, Lu Ming was not worried. With Autumn Moon and Bubbles' strength, they could protect themselves. In fact, Lu Ming was the weakest among the 3 of them. Without him, Autumn Moon and Bubbles would have an easier time. This was also the reason why he could enter the golden light wall without worry. As soon as Lu Ming entered the golden light wall, the hole in the light wall disappeared in an instant. It did not allow a second person to pass through. The golden light wall also returned to its original state. Lu Ming, Yi Qianyue gritted his teeth. His eyes were flickering with cold light. The flame of anger had reached its peak. After a while, Yi Qianyue calmed down. Let's go. Yi Qianyue roared and turned to leave. Lu Ming had already entered the golden light wall. There was no need for them to stay here. It was meaningless to stay. In the blink of an eye, the people of the heavenly human tribe disappeared without a trace. After Lu Ming passed through the golden light wall, he appeared in a spacious secret chamber. The secret chamber was empty. There was nothing in it. There was no other passage or gate. Lu Ming's face turned ugly. Where was the 5 elements immortal tier? After so many years, someone finally came here. A voice suddenly sounded. Lu Ming was startled. He looked around but did not see anyone. Who is it? Lu Ming shouted. I'm above you. The voice sounded again. It sounded very young, like a 7 or 8-year-old girl. Lu Ming looked up. There was suddenly a light above the secret chamber. Then a figure suddenly appeared. This figure was only a little more than a meter tall. She had a ponytail and her face was red. It was indeed a 7 or 8-year-old girl. Chapter 4388. The little girl was barefooted. Her feet were white and tender, chubby and quite cute. She gently lifted her feet and landed in front of Lu Ming, looking at Lu Ming curiously. Lu Ming also looked at the little girl curiously. It's not a real body. It's just a shadow. Lu Ming's heart moved. He could clearly see that the little girl was not a real body, not a flesh and blood life, but a shadow. It looked like it was condensed by light and it looked very illusory. What's your name? The little girl stared at Lu Ming and asked. Lu Ming, what about you? Lu Ming answered truthfully and then asked a question in return. You can call me Jade Maiden. What do you think? It's a nice name, right? After saying that, she looked at Lu Ming with a hopeful face. It's very nice. Lu Ming said somewhat against his will. I knew it. My name is just nice. Nice. The little girl was immersed in joy alone. Lu Ming, that Jade Maiden, do you have 5 elements immortal tears here? Lu Ming asked. 5 elements immortal tears, of course I have it, but if you want it, you have to promise me a condition. Jade Maiden also reacted, knowing that they were going to do business. Her small face put on a serious look. It was just that she was too cute. Even if she put on a serious look, she still looked charmingly naive. What condition? Lu Ming resisted the urge to pinch Jade Maiden's chubby face and asked. It's very simple, it's to cultivate the qi refining technique I taught you. Jade Maiden said. Qi refining technique? What's that? Cultivating true qi? Lu Ming asked curiously. Of course not. In your words, the qi refinement technique is a cultivation method from the last era. It absorbs the innate primordial qi for one's own use, refines the gold core, transforms the nascent soul, and finally ascends to immortality, becoming immortal. In the ancient desolation continent of the previous epoch, the main path of cultivation was the qi refinement art. It was extremely mysterious and full of mysteries. It was much stronger than your current path of cultivation, and had a much brighter future. What do you think? Jade Maiden muttered a bunch of things, and finally looked at Lu Ming as if she was trying to trick a child. It's actually a cultivation path from the previous era. Lu Ming said softly. His eyes were bright and he was also quite moved. Based on the evidence Xiao Qin had, the great desolate continent of the previous epoch was incredibly prosperous. Its overall strength was much stronger than it was now, with many experts. This could be seen from the fact that the Heavenly Palace and the Heaven Destroyer were exploring the ruins of the universe. Moreover, the Taishang Immortal City was just a city left behind from the previous epoch, but it contained countless epochs, which made the Divine Lord Realm experts fight over it. Based on this evidence, the cultivation civilization of the great desolate continent of the previous epoch was much stronger than it was now. How could Lu Ming not be willing to cultivate the cultivation method of the previous epoch? Of course I am willing to cultivate it. Lu Ming quickly nodded. Well, you can cripple your own cultivation and then I will teach you the qi refinement art. You can stay here and cultivate in peace. When you have some achievements in cultivation, you can go out and carry forward the qi refinement art. Jade Maiden muttered again, but Lu Ming's face changed greatly. What? You want me to cripple my own cultivation and cultivate here in the future? No, I can't do that. Lu Ming immediately refused. What a joke. He had spent so much effort to cultivate to his current level. How could it be possible for him to cripple his own cultivation? Right now he had a taboo body and controlled the taboo power. His fighting strength was incomparably strong and had reached 13 stars. His future was limitless. Even if he cultivated the qi refinement art, could he have his current achievements? Also, if he were to stay here and cultivate, he wouldn't go out? He still had to bring the 5 elements immortal tears out to save Dandan and Ling Yue. No matter what, he couldn't agree to these 2 conditions. Therefore Lu Ming refused straightforwardly. Don't be in such a hurry to refuse. Let me tell you, although you are strong now, when you cultivate the qi refinement art to a high level, you will not be weaker than you are now and might even be stronger than you are now. Furthermore, the qi refinement art has unlimited possibilities, and it is much more promising than you are now. Also, you want to go out because you want to bring the 5 elements immortal tears out to save someone, right? Don't worry about that, I can send the 5 elements immortal tears out to your friends. Don't you have 2 friends waiting for you outside? Jade Maiden continued to earnestly persuade Lu Ming. At the same time she praised the qi refinement art to the heavens. However, Lu Ming only shook his head. He had never cultivated the qi refinement art before. Who knew if it was good or not? Who knew if Jade Maiden was bragging? Who knew if the qi refinement art taught by Jade Maiden was high level or not? Even if it was a cultivation technique from the previous era, there would definitely be a difference in level. What if Jade Maiden taught him a very low level one? Why are you so stubborn? If you don't agree, I won't give you the 5 elements immortal tears. In the end, Jade Maiden pouted and released a big move. You can't be so shameless. Lu Ming was tongue-tied. So what if I'm shameless? The Jade Maiden glared at Lu Ming. She had a self-righteous look on her face. Lu Ming, it wasn't easy for me to find someone who could comprehend some qi refinement art. I definitely can't let you go. You have to give it a try, Jade Maiden continued. Lu Ming knew that Jade Maiden said that he had comprehended some qi refinement art. It should be the hieroglyphs on the golden wall outside. Could it be that no one had come here before me? As far as I know, someone had come here 60 years ago, right? Lu Ming asked. Since Dandan knew that there were 5 elements immortal tears here, someone must have come here before. Yes, but those people are all trash. They don't have enough talent and aren't suitable for cultivation. You, on the other hand, are different. Your talent is very high. You only used 3 years to comprehend some chi cultivation arts and entered this place. You are more suitable than those people. I won't let you go. Let me tell you, I definitely won't let you go. Jade Maiden muttered non-stop. Alright, I can agree with you. At this time, Lu Ming suddenly said, You really agree? Jade Maiden was surprised. She didn't expect Lu Ming to change his mind so quickly. Previously he was determined not to agree, but now he changed his mind? Yes, I agree. Lu Ming nodded. Just now he had a flash of inspiration and thought of an idea. Behead 3 corpses technique. Yes, it was the behead 3 corpses technique. The behead 3 corpses technique could sever the past, present, and future. And now, Lu Ming could only sever his past and present. He had yet to sever his future. It's not that Lu Ming couldn't do it, but he didn't have a suitable opportunity to sever his future. His past body cultivated divine power, and his present body controlled taboo power. Then what should he cultivate if he severed his future body? Now he had it. After severing his future body, he could cultivate chi refinement art here. Chapter 4389. Fei Huang once said that the 3-corpse execution technique was extremely mysterious. If one could cultivate it to great success, it would be of great help in breaking through a crucial realm in the future. However, the fusion of the past, present, and future would burst out with endless potential. Lu Ming had always wanted to create his future self, but he hadn't found a cultivation method for his future self. And chi refinement technique was the most suitable. Similarly, his future self could also stay here for a long time to cultivate. Alright, then quickly cripple your own cultivation. Jade Maiden said. Cripple my own cultivation? No, there's no need to cripple my own cultivation. Lu Ming shook his head. No need to cripple your own cultivation? That won't do. Chi refinement technique and your current power will clash. They can't coexist. Jade Maiden shook her head. There's no need to coexist. I'll tell you the truth. I've cultivated a secret technique that can cut out the past, present, and future. As long as I cut out my future self, I'll let my future self and you cultivate chi refinement technique here. Lu Ming said. What? Ew. Jade Maiden suddenly jumped up. Her eyes were wide open. Her red little face was full of shock. Could it be that you've mastered the 3-corpse execution technique? Jade Maiden held back for a long time and finally said this sentence. You also know the 3-corpse execution technique? Lu Ming asked. Nonsense, of course I know. No one in the Great Desolate Continent doesn't know. Let me tell you, the 3-corpse execution technique is the chi refinement technique of a top expert in the Great Desolate Continent. It's incomparably mysterious and can be called the top chi refinement technique. I thought it was lost, but I didn't expect it to be mastered by you, Jade Maiden muttered again. Wait a minute. Lu Ming interrupted Jade Maiden's muttering and said, Tell me I can cultivate chi refinement technique after cutting out my future self. Does it meet your conditions? Of course. Jade Maiden nodded again and again. That's good. I'll start cultivating now and cut out my future self. At that time, you have to give me the 5 elements immortal tears. Also, I want 2 drops. Lu Ming said. No problem, I still have 3 drops here. By the way, you can take the 5 elements immortal tears out of the Supreme Immortal City. Jade Maiden said. Alright. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He didn't waste any more time and sat down cross-legged. In his mind, he carefully thought about the art of severing 3 corpses, and then began to cultivate. It was not that easy to cultivate the art of severing 3 corpses. It took Lu Ming a few months to officially begin the process of severing his future self. His body began to tremble violently. Both his body and soul were in excruciating pain. His body began to sway violently as if it were about to split apart, and another figure appeared. In the blink of an eye, another few days passed. This time, with the experience of creating his past self, the process was much smoother. A few days later, Lu Ming successfully created his future self. Sitting cross-legged opposite Lu Ming's present body was a figure that looked identical to Lu Ming. It was his future body. It was just that the current future self did not have the slightest bit of cultivation, nor the slightest bit of power. It was incomparably pure. Good, good, good. Jade Maiden danced around the future body, unceasingly, sizing it up unceasingly. She was very satisfied. In her opinion, the future self was very suitable to cultivate chi refinement art. It was more suitable than Lu Ming's self-destruction of cultivation. Because the future self had not cultivated before, it was very pure. It was like a piece of unpolished jade that had not been carved. As long as it was slightly carved, it could become a piece of treasure. I will now teach you the Qi Refinement Arts cultivation method. Immediately, Jade Maiden dictated the Qi Refinement Arts cultivation method. Lu Ming memorized it in his heart. Subsequently, Lu Ming's future self began to comprehend the Qi Refinement Art. Lu Ming's present self sat quietly at the side and did not disturb it. The future self was incomparably pure. Moreover, it had the talent and comprehension of the present self. Unexpectedly, there were no obstacles in cultivating Qi Refinement Art. It was very smooth. In just 3 months, the future self had cultivated Qi Refinement Art. In his dantian, a wisp of Qi was condensed. This Qi was completely different from true Qi and divine Qi. It seemed to be of a higher level and purer. Amazing, amazing, truly amazing. You actually managed to cultivate Qi Refinement Art in just 3 months. You are simply a genius in cultivating Qi Refinement Art. Jade Maiden kept circling Lu Ming's future self. Her face was full of admiration. Whatever I cultivate, I am a genius. Lu Ming muttered in his heart. Of course he did not say it out loud. He was afraid that Jade Maiden would be unhappy. After all, he had not obtained the 5 Elements Immortal tier yet. Jade Maiden, can you give me the 5 Elements Immortal tier now? Lu Ming's present self said. Of course, but your future self has to stay here and continue cultivating. You should know that Qi Refinement Art is all-encompassing and unfathomable. You have only grasped the surface of it. There are still countless things to learn. It will take a long time. Jade Maiden said. No problem, my future self will stay here and learn from you. Lu Ming's present self nodded. As for his future self, he naturally wouldn't object. His original intention was to cultivate Qi Refinement Art. Alright, I'll give you the 5 Elements Immortal tier. Jade Maiden stretched out her hand and pointed in the air. A ripple appeared in the air and then a jade bottle appeared out of thin air. No storage ring, what kind of method is this? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Jade Maiden was just an illusion, not a physical body, and did not have any storage treasures. The jade bottle seemed to have appeared out of thin air. Could it be that the item was hidden in the void? The jade lady waved her hand, and the jade bottle flew toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming reached out and received it. When he opened it, he saw 3 drops of liquid inside. They were like water droplets, crystal clear. However, when Lu Ming took a closer look, the color of the water droplets changed again. They emitted a colorless light that was dazzling. With the 5 Elements Immortal tier in hand, Lu Ming was overjoyed. Qiu Qiu and Ling Yue were saved. Thank you. Lu Ming's present self cupped his fists and said, Let's go, let's go, let's go. Jade Maiden waved her hand again and again with a look of disdain. Her current thoughts were all on her future self. A wave of energy appeared out of thin air and enveloped Lu Ming's present self. With a roll, Lu Ming's body directly disappeared from his original spot. In the next moment, Lu Ming discovered that he had already left the secret room and reappeared outside the golden wall of light. Young Master. Big Brother Lu Ming. When Autumn Moon and Bubbles saw Lu Ming, they immediately flew over. Big Brother Lu Ming, how is it? Did you get the 5 Elements Immortal tier? Bubbles asked. Got it. Lu Ming nodded. Autumn Moon and Bubbles were overjoyed. Dandan, that guy is really lucky. He's saved now. Bubble chuckled. Although she and Dandan often bickered, their relationship was actually very close. With Dandan's life and death unknown, she was also burning with anxiety. Let's go, let's leave this place and find a place to recover Dandan and Ling Yue. Lu Ming said. Chapter 4390. Lu Ming and the other 2 returned along the way they came. Very quickly, they left the 5 Elements Immortal Mountain and flew into the distance. Very quickly, they arrived at a relatively remote place. They planned to save Dandan and Ling Yue before returning to the Heavenly Might Star Palace. Bubbles, take out Dandan and Ling Yue's souls. Lu Ming said to Bubbles. Bubbles nodded, and with a wave of his hand, Dandan and Ling Yue's souls flew out. Their souls were wrapped in layers of time and space energy, and their bodies were covered in runes. Even so, after this period of time, their souls had dimmed quite a bit and become even weaker. In their bodies, the restrictive power of the Heavenly Palace's Heavenly Soldier battle armor was still constantly destroying their souls. If not for the double protection of the formation and the time and space energy, their souls would have completely dissipated long ago. Even so, their souls wouldn't be able to hold on for long. Fortunately, the 5 elements immortal tears were in his hands. According to Dandan, as long as the 5 elements immortal tears fused with their souls, not only would they be able to dispel the restrictive power in their souls, they would also be able to strengthen their souls and even help them recondense their bodies and completely recover. Let's begin. Lu Ming whispered as he took out a jade bottle and opened it. Using the forbidden power, 2 drops of 5 elements immortal tears flew out and flew towards Dandan and Ling Yue's souls. Under the control of Bubbles, the time and space energy did not obstruct the 5 elements immortal tears in the slightest. It passed through the time and space energy and flew towards their souls. As soon as it came into contact with their souls, the 5 elements immortal tears fused into their souls and disappeared. But in the next moment, their souls suddenly shone brightly. Strands of resplendent multicolored light burst out from their souls. Within the multicolored light, there were also traces of black mist. It really works. Lu Ming, Autumn Moon, and Bubbles all revealed looks of joy. This was because it was obvious that this black mist was the restrictive power of the Heavenly Soldier battle armor. At this moment, this restrictive power was being destroyed by the 5 elements immortal tears. About 3 minutes later, there was no more black mist coming out. This meant that the power of the restriction had been completely wiped out. After the power of the restriction was destroyed, the 2 people's souls quickly changed color and solidified. Furthermore, there was a powerful fluctuation. It was the fluctuation of their souls. Originally, there hadn't been any fluctuations in their souls. But now there were intense fluctuations. Furthermore, the fluctuations were becoming more and more intense. Lu Ming and the other 2 felt that Dandan and Ling Yue's souls seemed to contain an incomparably terrifying power that was currently changing. Withdraw. Bubble called out. With a wave of her hand, the space-time energy that wrapped around their souls vanished without a trace. At the same time, the runes covering their souls disappeared without a trace. The restrictive power had already been obliterated, so there was no longer a need for protection. If the formation and space-time power continued to envelop the area, it would instead affect the effects of the 5 elements immortal tears. As expected, after the formation and space-time powers were removed, the light on their souls became even more resplendent. Their souls looked like 2 pieces of glass, as if they had become solid. Then, with their souls as the foundation, flesh and blood were constantly being produced. This was a recondensing of their bodies. One could clearly see that strands of flesh and drops of blood were constantly being produced. This process lasted for about 3 hours. Dandan and Ling Yue's bodies reappeared in front of the 3 of them. However, they were enveloped by a layer of light. Boom. Following that, a powerful aura rushed out of their bodies. This aura grew stronger as it aged. Divine Lord, Divine Emperor, 1st level Divine Emperor. Soon they reached the 8th level of the Divine Emperor realm. This was the original realm of Egyi and Ling Yue, but this wasn't the end. Their auras continued to rise and soon, they reached the 9th level of the Divine Emperor realm. Only after reaching the 9th level of the Divine Emperor realm did their auras stop rising. However, the changes to the 2 of them weren't over yet. First, a word rushed out from between Dandan's eyebrows. This was an origin ancient word. This word was the word, formation. The origin ancient word, formation, was previously hidden in Dandan's soul. At the same time, runes constantly spread out around Dandan's body. These runes interweaved into different formations. These formations collapsed as soon as they appeared, and then turned into another formation. Just like this, the formations alternated. In an instant, there were hundreds of formations alternating. It was incomparably mysterious. On the other side, Ling Yue seemed to have turned into a seed. Then this seed quickly took root and grew leaves and finally formed a towering tree. This tree was the Elven Sacred Tree. The Elven Sacred Tree emitted endless life essence as if it was a world tree. It's evolving in all aspects. The 5 elements immortal tears are truly miraculous. Lu Ming, Autumn Moon, and Bubbles were all sighing. Obviously, the 5 elements immortal tears not only removed the restrictive power of the heavenly armor, but also helped them condense their bodies. It even helped them break through their cultivation and evolve in other aspects. For example, their physique secret techniques, origin divine power factor, origin secret techniques, and so on were all improving. One could imagine that after the 2 of them recovered, their combat strength would definitely soar. As for how far they could reach, it was still impossible to judge. This process lasted for a long time. It lasted for a full 3 days before the phenomenon around Dandan and Ling Yue disappeared. The multicolored light also disappeared, and their aura stabilized. Then, the two of them opened their eyes one after another. Haha, I've revived. Ha ha ha, those fellows from the heavenly human race want to harm me? No way. Who am I? How can they control me? As soon as he saw Lu Ming and the other two, Dandan laughed out loud and boasted. Lu Ming's eyelids twitched as he directly kicked Dandan, causing him to spin 720 degrees in the air. You brat, if it weren't for me, you would have been able to revive. You still have the face to boast? Lu Ming said with great disdain. Lu Ming, you dare to kick me? Dandan covered his butt and jumped 3 feet high. He stared at Lu Ming with wide eyes and gritted his teeth, but in the end he didn't dare to make a move. Lu Ming, you're also a part of my plan. I already knew that you would be able to obtain the 5 elements immortal tears, so I set up such a plan. To put it bluntly, you are also my chess piece. Do you understand? I'm such a genius. I can even think of such a perfect plan. The more Dandan spoke, the more excited he became. He was so happy that he was about to dance. Mu Yun, you lied to me? At this moment, a voice rang out, causing Dandan's voice to abruptly stop. This was because this voice came from Ling Yue. Chapter 4391. Not good, I spilled the beans just now. Dandan muttered in his heart. He was so excited just now that he had called out Lu Ming's original name, forgetting that Ling Yue did not know Lu Ming's true identity. At this moment, Ling Yue's beautiful eyes were staring at Lu Ming, as if she wanted Lu Ming to tell her the answer. Lu Ming was silent. For a moment he didn't know what to say. You? Are you Lu Ming or Mu Yun? Ling Yue stared at Lu Ming and asked again. Miss Yue, I'm really sorry. My real identity is Lu Ming. The name Mu Yun is someone else's. The real Mu Yun of the Fengdu sword sect, who is also your real fiancé, might have died. Lu Ming said, directly revealing the truth. Why? What? Ling Yue's delicate body trembled as tears welled up in her eyes. Her eyes flashed with confusion and deep sorrow. She had always treated Lu Ming as her real fiancé, and had long since given her heart to Lu Ming as the person she had entrusted her life to. But now she suddenly realized that Lu Ming's true identity was not Mu Yun, nor was he her fiancé. Her real fiancé might have died a long time ago. This news had a huge impact on her. Her heart was in complete chaos. Miss Yue, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hide it from you. Back then, I needed to borrow this identity to enter the Heavenly Palace. Lu Ming explained. You don't have to explain. Ling Yue said. Her gaze circled around Lu Ming and Autumn Moon, as if she had understood something. No, Lu Ming, you shouldn't have lied to me. You should have told me earlier. Ling Yue said. I'm sorry. Lu Ming still wanted to say more. It's useless to say more. From now on, you and I have nothing to do with each other. When we meet in the future, we will be passers-by. After saying that, Ling Yue turned around and stepped into the air. She was very decisive and direct. However, the moment Yue turned around, a teardrop fell from the sky and drifted with the wind towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming stretched out his hand and tears fell onto his palm. They were ice cold, as if they were carved into Ling Yue's heart. At this time, Ling Yue had already left, disappearing before everyone's eyes. Sigh. Lu Ming let out a long sigh in his heart. Originally, he had used the identity of Cloud Herder to enter the Heavenly Palace and become a heavenly soldier. He had never thought that this identity would cause so many things to happen and cause so many disputes with Ling Yue. After being together for such a long time, it would be a lie to say that he didn't have any fluctuations in his heart towards Ling Yue. However, what could he do now? How could he explain it? Young master, aren't you going to chase after them? Chiu Yu walked over and held Lu Ming's hand, saying softly. What can we do even if we catch up? What explanation can I give? Lu Ming muttered and shook his head slightly. Lu Ming, look, you're messing around again, aren't you? Another girl has been hurt by you. Dandan curled his lips at the side. That's right. The bubble head nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. So much nonsense. Let's go back to the Heavenly Might Star Palace. Lu Ming said and then walked towards the direction of the Heavenly Might Star Palace. Dandan curled his lips and followed behind Lu Ming. A group of 4, no to be precise 2 people, 1 turtle and 1 mouse, headed towards the Heavenly Might Star Palace. After crossing several star palaces, they returned to the Heavenly Might Star Palace. After returning to the Heavenly Might Star Palace, they headed towards the hidden area. Now, Dandan and Ling Yue had been saved, and the restriction power of the Heavenly Soldier battle armor in their bodies had been removed. Now, Lu Ming was going to use all his strength to condense the Great Desolate Pill and break through to the 9th layer of the Great God Realm. Although his current battle strength was strong, reaching 13 stars, his cultivation was only at the 8th layer of the Great God Realm, which was still a little weak. Only when his cultivation reached the 9th layer of the Great God Realm would he not be afraid of anyone. Soon they approached the largest earth vein. From afar they could already see the 4 towering trees on the earth vein. Lu Ming heaved a sigh of relief. The 4 trees were still there, which meant that the earth vein had not been broken through. If it had been broken through, the 4 trees would not have been intact without the sun. But at this time, Lu Ming suddenly felt a sense of danger. "Wait a minute, there's danger ahead," Lu Ming called out. In fact, there was no need for Lu Ming to call out. Autumn Moon, Bubbles, and Dandan also felt it. They involuntarily stopped and looked around. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At this time, on the ground and in the sky, many people rushed out and surrounded Lu Ming and the other 3. There were at least 1,000 of them. They were all from the heavenly human tribe. Most of them were strong men, but there were also a few of them who were young and powerful. Their terrifying auras gathered together and pressed down on their heads like mountains. The expressions of Lu Ming and the other 3 turned grave. These 1,000 heavenly human tribe members were all at the 9th layer of the Great God Realm. Obviously, the heavenly human tribe members knew that Lu Ming had left the earth vein, so they did not attack it. Instead, they were lying in ambush, waiting for Lu Ming to return. Oh no. At this moment, Yi Ling was refining pills on the earth vein. He was also alarmed and his face changed. When he saw so many heavenly human tribe members, he knew that Lu Ming had returned and was surrounded. However, there was still a long way to go. The 4 trees could not help at all. And with his battle prowess, after all, he was alone and weak. Even if he went, he wouldn't be able to help and could only be anxious. Lu Ming and the other 3 looked serious, but they were still calm. "Muyun, you're finally back. This time, let's see how you're going to die." A cold and arrogant voice was heard. A young heavenly human tribe member stepped out from the crowd. This person was Yelu Di. Yelu Di glanced at Lu Ming and the other 3. When he saw Dandan, his eyes widened in disbelief. He shouted, "It's you, the world divine turtle. How is this possible? Are you still alive? How are you still intact?" Yelu Di was really shocked. Last time, he clearly activated the power of the restriction and turned Dandan into ashes. At most, Dandan only had a soul that hadn't been annihilated, but it couldn't have survived for long. But now Dandan was resurrected. Judging by its aura, it seemed to be stronger than before. How was this possible? Yelu Di was not the only one. Some of the people who were with Yelu Di last time saw Dandan's fate with their own eyes. At this moment, their hearts were in turmoil. You want to harm me? You're delusional," Dandan said proudly. So what if I'm resurrected? This time I'll turn you into ashes," Yelu Di said coldly. Then a disc array appeared in his hand. This disc array was the one that controlled the power of the seal. After taking out the disc array, Yelu Di immediately activated the disc array to activate the power of the seal. Chapter 4392. The disc array in Yelu Di's hand lit up and was about to activate the power of the restriction. During this process, Dandan had been curling his lips and looking at Yelu Di with a mocking expression. Buzz. The disc array trembled slightly and light filled the air. However, Dandan was completely fine. He just looked at Yelu Di with even more mockery in his eyes. "What's going on? Why isn't there any movement from the restriction? I don't believe it." Again. Yelu Di roared in his heart. He continued to pour power into the disc array, causing it to tremble even more violently. However, Dandan was still completely fine. "Don't waste your energy. Your restriction power is useless against me." Dandan's mocking voice sounded. "Impossible, how can the restriction power be ineffective against you? Could it be that you have already destroyed the restriction power? That's impossible. The restriction power can penetrate into the 60 trillion cells in the body. It's impossible for you to destroy it, even with Muyun's help." Yelu Di roared in disbelief. "In front of me, anything is possible." Dandan put his hands behind his back and put on a very arrogant look. "Impossible, impossible. How is this possible?" All the heavenly human tribe members present were in disbelief. It was as if the truth they had always known had been broken. However, there was nothing they could do about it. The truth was right in front of them. So what if he broke the restriction power? Why would we need the restriction power to kill them? Activate the 9 heavens battle formation and kill them in one fell swoop. At this moment, another heavenly human tribe prodigy said coldly. "That's right. Activate the 9 heavens battle formation and kill them in one fell swoop." The other heavenly human tribe prodigies also spoke one after another with cold killing intent. This time there were many heavenly human tribe prodigies who came. There were also many who were at the same level as Yeludi. Of course, it was not only the heavenly human tribe from the mighty Sky Star Palace. Many other star palaces had brought their people with the goal of killing Lu Ming. 9 Heavens Battle Formation activate. Finally, thousands of heavenly human tribe experts flashed and set up the 9 Heavens Battle Formation. An incomparably huge celestial king was formed, emitting incomparably terrifying fluctuations. Thousands of cultivators of the 9th Great Supreme God Layer had created the battle formation of the 9 Heavens. They were terrifyingly strong. Lu Ming and the other 3 would definitely not be able to stop him. Humph, trying to play with formations in front of me? You're just showing off in front of an expert. Dandan coldly shouted. His body slightly moved and countless runes rushed out of his body. Runes rushed out of every pore on his body and disappeared into the void. Within a breath's time, Dandan had sent out countless runes. Attack, kill them. Yeludi roared, urging everyone to take action immediately to avoid any unforeseen circumstances. Kill. All of the heavenly human race cultivators roared at the same time and activated the 9 Heavens Battle Formation. The incomparably huge heavenly human race king waved his battle sword and slashed towards Lu Ming and the others. It was too terrifying. As the battle sword was waved, the void kept exploding. Even an ordinary divine master would have to avoid such power. It was definitely not something that Lu Ming and the others could resist. Under such an attack, even Bubble's space-time energy would not be able to escape. The difference was too great. Lu Ming, Autumn Moon and Bubble's faces were solemn. Now they could only rely on Dandan. At this moment, runes suddenly appeared among the thousands of heavenly human race cultivators who had set up the formation. These runes seemed to have cut off the connection between the heavenly human race cultivators. The huge heavenly human race king's aura rapidly weakened. Then, with a bang, it turned into a burst of energy and dissipated. The 9 Heavens Battle Formation was broken just like that. The heavenly human race cultivators were in disbelief. However, Lu Ming was not too surprised. The world turtle race was born for rune formations. They were born to master all kinds of rune formations. As for Dandan, she was the top heavens pride of the turtle clan in the world. She had also obtained the origin source ancient character matrix. Her mastery of rune matrices had reached an unimaginable level. Moreover, Lu Ming was sure that Dandan had studied the 9 Heavens Battle Formation before. Therefore, it was not difficult for him to find the flaw of the 9 Heavens Battle Formation and break it in one fell swoop. Moreover, these heavenly human race cultivators were from different factions. Even if they had set up the 9 Heavens Battle Formation, it would not be perfect. It would be easier for Dandan to break it. Kill. As soon as the 9 Heavens Battle Formation was broken, Lu Ming, Autumn Moon and Bubbles made their moves. Bubbles waved her hands and the space-time energy exploded. With Bubbles as the center, it spread in all directions and enveloped all the heavenly human race cultivators. Why is my skin drying up? Why is my hair turning white? Someone shouted in fright because he realized that his skin was drying up quickly. His golden hair was turning white and his body was aging rapidly. In the end, his body rotted and turned into ashes. This was due to the influence of the power of time. The acceleration of time caused these people to rapidly age until they decayed. Some people's bodies had cracks on them and then they were torn apart. They had been killed by the space-time energy. Of course, these people were the ones with weaker cultivations. The stronger ones were able to withstand the corrosion of the space-time energy. However, even though they had blocked it, they were still affected. Their strength and speed were suppressed. At the same time, Lu Ming and Qiu Yu joined forces and charged toward the heavenly human tribe. Numerous attacks were launched toward the heavenly human tribe. Although those heavenly human race cultivators were at the 9th layer of the great god realm, most of them only had 5 or 6 stars of battle strength. They were no match for Lu Ming and Autumn Moon. Moreover, they were suppressed by the space-time energy. They could not block Lu Ming and Autumn Moon's attacks. Every time an attack flashed, a heavenly human race cultivator would be killed. Blood splattered everywhere and screams could be heard. In an instant, dozens of heavenly human race cultivators had been killed by Lu Ming and the other 2. Damn it! You're courting death. Yeludi shouted. His eyes were red as he charged towards Lu Ming and the other 3. At the same time, the other peerless geniuses who had 9 or 10 stars of battle strength also charged towards Lu Ming and the other 3. Their battle strength was strong and they were not suppressed by the space-time energy. Avoid them. Lu Ming shouted. He used a movement technique and retreated quickly to avoid those peerless geniuses. Autumn Moon, Bubble, and the others did the same. They did not want to be entangled with those peerless geniuses. Instead, they charged towards the heavenly human race cultivators. With the support of the spacetime energy, they were extremely fast. In an instant, they had caught up with the heavenly human race cultivators. Powerful attacks exploded and the heavenly human race cultivators were killed one by one. Of course, their interspatial rings fell into the hands of Lu Ming and the others. Damn it! Damn it! Yellow D and the other peerless geniuses roared. However, they could not catch up with Lu Ming and the others. In the spacetime energy, they could not use their full strength. Chapter 4393. The heavenly human tribe's 9 heavens battle formation was broken, and they were suppressed by the spacetime power. Lu Ming and the others deliberately avoided the top geniuses of the heavenly human tribe and went to kill the strong men. It was not too difficult to kill them. In a short while, more than 60 strong men of the heavenly human tribe died in their hands. The other strong men of the heavenly human tribe were shocked. They kept retreating, not daring to get close to Lu Ming and the others. Without the support of the 9 heavens battle formation, these strong men of the heavenly human tribe were too weak compared to Autumn Moon and the others. All of you stay here. Bubbles shouted, and 2 origin ancient words flew out. The spacetime power kept erupting and surging towards the people of the heavenly human tribe. Dandan was also extremely powerful. Light kept rushing out of his body, and when the light rushed out, it turned into a formation. Within a breath's time, hundreds of array formations appeared in the world. The speed of setting up the array formations was simply incredible. Even Lu Ming was dumbstruck at the sight. Obviously, after Dandan was revived by the 5 elements fairy tier, his combat strength had also increased greatly. It was hard to tell how many stars he could reach. Because Dandan controlled the runic formations, all kinds of runic formations were combined, and it was extremely mysterious and difficult to deal with. With the combination of all kinds of formations, it was not impossible to fight with existences with higher combat strength. There were all kinds of formations trapping enemies, attacking, confusing, illusory and so on. They all rushed towards the people of the heavenly human tribe. It could be said that with the cooperation of Dandan and Bubbles, Lu Ming and Autumn Moon could kill the people of the heavenly human tribe as easily as cutting vegetables. However, this time Lu Ming was shocked. Because 2 figures suddenly rushed out from the crowd and rushed towards Lu Ming and the others. Their speed was extremely shocking and they quickly approached Lu Ming and the others. Dandan shouted, and the formations changed direction and rushed towards this person. However, this person was too terrifying. His whole body was like a peerless sharp divine sword. Wherever he rushed, one formation after another was broken. Over 100 formations were broken through in an instant. Dandan's expression changed and he shouted angrily. His hands danced quickly and under his feet, there was a dazzling light and a huge formation appeared. This time, there was only one formation but it was much bigger and more complicated than the previous ones. A giant beast rushed out of the formation. This gigantic beast looked extremely ferocious. It had the body of a tiger but the head of a divine dragon. Its entire body was covered in scales as it charged towards the figure. Boom. The 2 of them collided, and an earth-shattering explosion erupted. Then both sides rapidly retreated. However, Dandan had retreated even further, and the light of the formation beneath his feet had dimmed considerably. Yichu Qinya. That figure was indeed one of the heavenly human clan's sons of heaven, Yichu Qinyue. No wonder his strength was so terrifying. His combat strength was stronger than Dandan's. Qinyue retreated and his eyes were cold. The power of heavenly punishment in his right hand and the power of heavenly extermination in his left hand intertwined with each other, and he attacked Dandan again. On the other side, another figure rushed over. It was a woman from the heavenly human tribe. She was extremely beautiful, but her strength was abnormally terrifying. Bubbles' spacetime energy kept exploding in front of her. She kept breaking through the spacetime energy and rushed towards Lu Ming and the others. Spacetime blade, slash. Bubbles shouted, and a huge arc-shaped weapon appeared in her hand. It was completely condensed by the spacetime energy, and it contained a terrifying attack power. The spacetime blade slashed towards the heavenly human tribe woman. An axe appeared in the heavenly human tribe woman's hand. The petite figure wielded a huge axe and swung it at Bubble, colliding with the spacetime blade. With a loud clang, a destructive force swept out in all directions. Bubble and the heavenly human woman trembled and were sent flying backward. They were evenly matched. So strong. Could this heavenly human tribe woman be a heavenly daughter? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Bubbles was now at the 9th layer of the Great Supreme God realm, and her combat strength had reached 11 stars. The heavenly human tribe woman was evenly matched with Bubbles, so she obviously had 11 stars of combat strength. It was highly possible that she was a heavenly daughter. This time the ambush for Lu Ming and the others was not led by Yelu Di and the others. It was led by a few heavenly daughters. Qinya Chu Qianxing's eyes were cold, and when he looked at Lu Ming, his eyes were filled with killing intent. In the 5 elements celestial mountain, Lu Ming had passed through the golden light wall first. It was a great humiliation for him. Therefore he came out first, and when he found out which star palace Lu Ming was in, he immediately contacted the other heavenly sons and heavenly daughters to ambush Lu Ming. Now how could he let Lu Ming go? Die! Qinya Chu Qianyue shouted. His golden hair fluttered in the wind, and his body was covered by 2 supreme forces. He madly rushed towards Lu Ming. How could Dandan allow him to get close to Lu Ming? The runes on his body flashed and he appeared in front of Qinya Chu Qianyue. Another formation was activated, and another giant beast was formed, pouncing towards Qinya Chu Qianyue. Dandan and Qinya Chu Qianyue fought fiercely. Although Dandan was slightly weaker than Yi Qianyue in a head-on confrontation, Dandan possessed too many tricks up her sleeves. She possessed all sorts of spirit formations and unleashed all sorts of spirit formations to tangle with her opponent. At that moment Yi Qianyue was unable to do anything to Dandan. However, Dandan and Bubbles were entangled with each other. Muyun, your life is mine now. Muyun's life is mine. Those weaker geniuses, such as Yelu Di and the others, madly rushed towards Lu Ming. Come on. Lu Ming's eyes were bright, and spear light was constantly bursting out from his pores. His whole body seemed to have turned into a long spear. Qinya Chu Qianyue's sacred heart was beating violently in her heart. Her whole body was shrouded in 9-colored light, and she was ready to launch a powerful attack. However, at this time, a figure suddenly rushed out from behind Yelu Di and the others. His speed was much faster than Yelu Di and the others, and he rushed towards Lu Ming and Qinya Chu Qianyue at an even faster speed. It was a young man from the heavenly human tribe. He was very young and handsome, and he had a strange temperament. He was holding a long spear in his hand. Swoosh! A ray of spear gleams suddenly pierced toward Lu Ming. The speed was so fast that it was shocking. It was not far from Lu Ming in an instant. Young master, be careful. Qinya Chu Qianyue exclaimed. She had been on guard, and now she acted immediately. The 9-colored light turned into a curved blade, slashing towards the spear light, trying to block it. Clang! The 9-colored curved blade hit the spear light accurately. Then the 9-colored curved blade vibrated violently, and then it collapsed with a bang. The spear light did not stop there, and it continued to pierce towards Qinya Chu Qianyue. Qinya Chu Qianyue had just attacked with all her might, and it was too late for her to dodge. Chapter 4394. The terrifying spear light was about to hit Autumn Moon, and Autumn Moon would not be able to dodge it. At the critical moment, Lu Ming used the Greater Aurora technique and hugged Autumn Moon. In a flash, they appeared 100 miles away and dodged the attack. This person is so strong. Lu Ming's face was solemn. The strength of this young angel was absolutely terrifying. With Autumn Moon's strength, her strongest attack was defeated and almost hit by the opponent's attack. This young man's strength was definitely above Yechu Qianyue's, and not just by a little. It's him, Yechu Tianji. At this moment, Yelu Di and the others were shocked. They could not help but stop and look at Yechu Tianji in awe. Yechu Tianji was a legendary figure in the heavenly human tribe. His talent was peerless and incomparably terrifying. The 4 heavenly palace had a total of 9 heavenly sons and daughters, but even the heavenly sons and daughters were divided into strong and weak. As for Yechu Tianji, he was clearly an existence that stood at the peak. It was rumored that Yechu Tianji was one of the 2 strongest heavenly sons and daughters. Of course, there was a 5th heavenly palace in the heavenly palace. It was unknown whether there was someone comparable to Yechu Tianji in it. They did not expect that even Yechu Tianji would appear. Mu Yun is dead for sure. Yelu Di and the others thought in their hearts and did not continue to attack. Because they knew that with Yechu Tianji here, there was no need for them to attack and they would not be allowed to. Yechu Tianji stepped forward and closed in on Lu Ming and Autumn Moon. His eyes were cold and filled with an invincible spirit. He was domineering and domineering. You are not bad to be able to block my attack. I did not expect that there would be such a woman in the human tribe. Follow me from now on and be my concubine. I can give you everything you want. Yechu Tianji looked at Autumn Moon and said to Autumn Moon, His words were filled with boundless confidence. He was one of the two strongest warriors of the Heavenly Palace's younger generation. Not only that, but even in the history of the Heavenly Human Tribe, there were very few who were as powerful and talented as he was. The young generation of the Heavenly Palace was especially strong, much stronger than before. That was why there were two geniuses at his level. If it was in the past, he would be the king of an era. A figure like him was destined to become one of the top figures of the Heavenly Human Tribe in the future, ruling over the primitive universe. What did he not have? Therefore he was very confident and directly said that he would give Autumn Moon everything that she wanted. I only want young master. Autumn Moon shook his head and took half a step forward to stand in front of Lu Ming. He stared at Yi Chu Tianji cautiously. Jealousy. Intense jealousy filled Yi Chu Tianji's heart. Such a peerless beauty had actually rejected him. Such a woman could become a heavenly maiden in the Heavenly Human Tribe, but she called Lu Ming young master. Even he did not have such a maid, nor was he qualified to have such a maid. But Lu Ming did. Who was Lu Ming? He was just a lowly human. What right did he have to have such a peerless beauty as his maid? The raging flames of jealousy seemed to be about to materialize. This made the murderous intent in Yi Chu Tianji's eyes when he looked at Lu Ming. You'd better think carefully. Following me is your best choice. In terms of background, the Heavenly Human Tribe rules the primitive universe. In terms of talent, I am the strongest of the young generation of the Heavenly Human Tribe. No, I am the strongest in the universe. Follow me and you will not die, and you will also obtain unimaginable benefits. Yi Chu Tianji continued. It would be a pity to kill a woman like Autumn Moon. He still wanted to persuade her. No, my young master is the strongest. Autumn Moon said firmly. Haha, he is the strongest? Yi Chu Tianji was so angry that he laughed. He looked at Lu Ming with a hint of contempt. Although he has the forbidden power, he still has to kneel in front of me. Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Chu Tianji took a step forward. A violent aura soared into the sky. The entire world seemed to be covered by a boundless mountain. It was suffocating. Yi Chu Tianji was also at the 9th level of the Divine God realm, but the pressure he gave off was much stronger than the others. At the same time, 3 rays of light appeared around Yi Chu Tianji's body. One ray of light was formed by small white lightning bolts. It kept twisting and turning into a battle sword in the end. This was the power of heaven's punishment. The other ray of light was gray and turned into a battle sword. This was the power of heavenly extermination. The other ray of light turned into a spear. This was the power of heavenly punishment. 3 kinds of heavenly powers. Lu Ming's pupils shrank and his face turned solemn. Yi Chu Tianji actually controlled 3 kinds of heavenly powers. This was the first time Lu Ming had seen such a thing. Lu Ming had seen the Heavenly Human Tribe's heavenly masters in action before, but they only controlled 2 kinds of heavenly powers. However, Yi Chu Tianji actually controlled 3 kinds of heavenly powers. This was absolutely terrifying. No wonder this person was so confident. Lu Ming and the others were not the only ones who were shocked. Even the members of the Heavenly Human Tribe were shocked. 3 kinds of heavenly powers? Oh my god, Lord Yi Chu Tianji really controlled 3 kinds of heavenly powers? The legend is true. Those who can control 1 kind of heavenly powers are already peerless geniuses. Lord Tianzi can actually control 3 kinds of heavenly powers. How did he cultivate? I'm so jealous. There's no need to be jealous. The gap is too big. The members of the Heavenly Human Tribe discussed. In the Heavenly Human Tribe, it was extremely rare to control 1 kind of heavenly powers, let alone 3 kinds of heavenly powers. It was said that there were very few of the Heavenly Human Tribe's older generation members who were still alive. After accumulating for a long time, there were very few who could control 3 supreme heavenly powers. To be honest, Yi Chu Tianji did have the right to be arrogant. No wonder he didn't even take the forbidden body seriously. Today, I want a forbidden body to kneel in front of me. I'll let you know who's the strongest. Yi Chu Tianji looked at Autumn Moon. Then he looked at Dandan and Bubbles and said, I'll also give you 2 a chance to join me. My target is not you. As long as you join me, I'll forgive all your past mistakes and give you a bright future. To be honest, he was also very tempted by Dandan and Bubbles. If Autumn Moon, Dandan and Bubbles joined him, no one in the Heavenly Human Tribe would be able to compete with him. Not even Yi Ling Hongye, who was as famous as him. Are you dreaming? Dandan's reply was even more direct. You're not worthy. Bubbles' reply was even more infuriating. The killing intent in Yi Chu Tianji's eyes suddenly exploded. The anger in his heart completely exploded. Ungrateful idiots. Since you're so stubborn, I'll kill you all together. Yi Chu Tianji shouted coldly. 3 types of weapons condensed by the supreme power of heaven blasted toward Lu Ming. Chapter 4395. Ye Chu Tianji made a powerful move. His 3 weapons were all condensed from the supreme power of heaven. The power of heaven's punishment condensed into a huge battle sword that was 10,000 miles long. When the sword slashed out, endless lightning filled the air and the sky crackled. The power of heaven's punishment condensed into a battle sword. The sword light was also 10,000 miles long. Everywhere it passed, a destructive force pressed down on Lu Ming and the others. The power of heaven's punishment turned into a long spear that pierced through the void and went straight for Lu Ming's forehead. The 3 supreme powers of heaven's punishment attacked together. It was too terrifying. Their combat strength was far beyond Ye Chu Tianyu's 12 stars of combat strength. Lu Ming was sure that Ye Chu Tianji's combat strength had definitely reached 12 stars. Although 12 stars of combat strength was only 1 star higher than 11 stars, it was much stronger. If the 2 sides fought, it would be completely crushed. With the strength of Qiu Moon and Lu Ming, they would definitely be killed by the other side. However, they had to fight with all their might. Lu Ming pushed his combat strength to the peak and prepared to fight with all his might. So did Qiu Moon. At this moment, something unexpected happened. Suddenly, a terrifying sound of something breaking through the air came from the sky. The black lotuses flew toward Yi Chu Tianji at a shocking speed. Yi Chu Tianji was the target. There were more than 100 black lotuses in total. In the process of flying, the petals of the lotuses fell off and stuck together to form 3 long swords. They flew toward Ye Chu Tianji's 3 weapons condensed from the supreme power of heaven. The speed of the 2 weapons was very shocking. Before the crowd could react, they collided. Boom, boom, boom. 3 consecutive heaven-shaking explosions rang out, and the 6 weapons of both sides all exploded. Ye Chu Tianji's attack was actually blocked. The 3 weapons that were condensed from the power of the heavens were actually destroyed. Everyone's hearts couldn't help but tremble violently. Especially the people of the heavenly human tribe. It was simply unbelievable. In this world, other than Ye Chu Tianji's Ye Chu Hongye, there was actually someone who could block Ye Chu Tianji's attack? Who was it? Subconsciously, everyone's gaze turned to the sky. Among the crowd, Lu Ming was the most excited. That was because he didn't need to look to know who it was. Xian Yanqing. Without looking, Lu Ming knew that it was Xian Yanqing. He was too familiar with Xian Yanqing. He knew at the moment he made his move. Sure enough, from the heavenly palace, a beautiful woman was walking through the air. This woman was wearing a black dress. She was beautiful and had an unparalleled temperament. Who else could she be but Xian Yanqing? Lu Ming's heart began to race. His eyes fell on Xian Yanqing, unable to move away. Similarly, Xian Yanqing's eyes also landed on Lu Ming. It was as if she only had eyes for Lu Ming and no one else. Who are you? Yi Chu Tianji said coldly, but a trace of seriousness flashed in the depths of his eyes. That was because he felt a strong pressure from Xian Yanqing. He had only felt this kind of pressure from Yi Ling Hongye and had never felt it before. Now, from Xian Yanqing he felt this pressure for the second time. He found it hard to believe. In this world, other than Yi Ling Hongye, who else could compete with him? In his mind, he quickly searched for all the top geniuses in the universe, including Heaven Destroyer. But there was none. As far as he knew, among the younger generation of Heaven Destroyer, no one could compete with him. Even the strongest person was weaker than him. He had never heard of Xian Yanqing, nor had he seen him before. The person who will kill you. Xian Yanqing smiled at Lu Ming, then looked at Yi Chu Tianji with cold murderous intent. That guy again, this Lu Ming again. Yi Chu Tianji roared in his heart. His jealousy of Lu Ming was about to drive him crazy. As long as one wasn't blind, one could see that the relationship between Xian Yanqing and Lu Ming was not ordinary. Why were such beauties and peerless geniuses gathered around Lu Ming? How unfair was the heavens? You think you can kill me? What a joke. It's good that you're all here today. I'll catch you all in one fell swoop. Yi Chu Tianji roared and the 3 supreme heavenly powers were released again. This time they didn't turn into weapons but 3 beasts that pounced on Xian Yanqing. Xian Yanqing stepped in the air, her long skirt fluttering. She pressed her hands together and a magical field spread out, expanding rapidly and enveloping Yi Chu Tianji. At the same time, a huge black lotus with 108 petals appeared under her feet, supporting Xian Yanqing. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The petals of the black lotus flew out continuously, cutting through the air and flying towards Yi Chu Tianji. The attacks of the two sides collided for the second time. The three strange beasts formed from the power of the heavens rampaged through the air. The black lotus petals were incomparably sharp, and they were extremely flexible. They were unfathomably mysterious. For a moment, the two sides were locked in a fierce battle. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had exchanged dozens of blows, but there was no clear winner. The more Yichu Tianji fought, the uglier and more serious his face became. He was sure that Xian Yanqing was on the same level as him. As for the other heavenly human tribe members, they were all dumbfounded. Their hearts were in turmoil and they couldn't believe it. They really couldn't believe it. This was Yichu Tianji, one of the strongest young geniuses of the heavenly human tribe. It was also in this era that the heavenly human tribe had only produced two such geniuses. In the past, geniuses of this level who could control three supreme heavenly powers were extremely rare. Usually it would take many years for one to appear. Once they appeared, they would be someone who could suppress the universe for an era. Such a person was invincible even in the heavenly human tribe. But now he was blocked by someone and it was a human. How could there be such a powerful being in the human race? This was a great blow to the self-esteem of the heavenly human tribe who had always thought of themselves as superior. At this moment, the battle between Dandan and Bubbles had stopped. Yichu Qianyue and the heavenly daughter were also extremely shocked. They didn't expect that someone could resist Yichu Tianji. Dandan, Autumn Moon, and Bubbles came to Lu Ming's side. Soon, Xian Yanqing and Yichu Tianji had exchanged more than 100 blows, but there was still no clear winner. Boom. In the end, the two of them retreated after exchanging a blow. Xian Yanqing stepped in the air and retreated to Lu Ming's side. Let's go. Let's enter the ley lines. Xian Yanqing said. Lu Ming nodded. Everyone flew toward the ley lines. No one from the heavenly human tribe dared to stop them. They had the advantage in numbers, but only by relying on the Nine Heavens battle formation could they make use of their advantage in numbers. Unfortunately, with Dandan around, their Nine Heavens battle formation was useless. Without the formation, they had no way to deal with Lu Ming's small team. They couldn't make use of their advantage in numbers at all. If they really swarmed, who knew how many of them would die? Chapter 4396. Yichu Tianji's face darkened. He wanted to attack but did not do so in the end. With Xian Yanqing around, he was not confident. Unless he went all out. However, it was not worth it now as it would affect the battle for the origin seed later. If he fell ill now, it would be very disadvantageous for him in the battle for the origin seed. His desire to kill Lu Ming was not as strong as the ordinary heavenly human tribe members. After killing Lu Ming, ordinary heavenly human tribe members could be conferred the title of Son of Heaven or Daughter of Heaven. However, he was already the Son of Heaven and the most powerful one. How could he be conferred a title after killing Lu Ming? At most, he would be rewarded. However, with his status, what kind of reward could he not get? While he was thinking, Lu Ming and the others had already returned to the earth vein. Here they would be safer with the protection of the four big trees. On the earth vein, Yiling was also a little stunned. At the same time, he was very shocked. The people around Lu Ming were too terrifying. Each of them was a peerless genius that was rare in the universe. His talent was already considered top-notch, but compared to anyone around Lu Ming, he was overshadowed. I didn't do much today? Lu Ming was also muttering. Today's events were also a little beyond his expectations. Today he was besieged by so many experts. He only killed some of the burly heavenly human tribe members and did not fight with the heavenly human tribe elites. He did not even fully display his true strength. Several times he was about to attack but was intercepted by Autumn Moon or Xian Yanqing. My performance today is really a little. I'm living off a woman, Lu Ming muttered in his heart. However, he did not care. The stronger his woman was, the better. Lu Ming, are you okay? Xian Yanqing held Lu Ming's hand and looked at Lu Ming carefully as if she wanted to look at Lu Ming enough. Of course I'm fine. Little Qing, how have you been recently? How did you get recruited by the Grand Supreme Immortal City? Lu Ming also carefully looked at Lu Ming and asked. I'm not too sure either, but I didn't encounter any danger after entering the Grand Supreme Immortal City. Instead, I obtained some fortunate encounters that allowed my cultivation and battle prowess to improve greatly. Xian Yanqing gave him a brief account of what had happened to her. It was probably because Xian Yanqing had entered a few years earlier and had the advantage. He had obtained a large number of pill furnaces and desolate pills, and had also entered several immortal mansions and obtained great fortunes. Regardless of whether it was his cultivation or his battle prowess, both had increased tremendously. Moreover, she had the memories of her previous life's Tang Qing. She had all kinds of secret techniques that were extremely powerful. Ordinary people could not compare to her. That was why she had a 12-star combat power. Io, don't be so mushy. There are still people around. Dandan shouted. That's right. Bubbles chimed in as well. Cough cough. Lu Ming quickly coughed a few times and stole a few glances at Autumn Moon. Autumn Moon maintained her smile and stood beside Lu Ming without saying a word. At this moment she stepped forward and said to Xian Yanqing, Sister Yanqing, long time no see. Sister Autumn Moon, long time no see. You're getting more and more beautiful. Xian Yanqing also smiled and grabbed Autumn Moon's hand. Lu Ming was delighted. Xian Yanqing had long known about the relationship between Lu Ming and Autumn Moon. It seemed that Xian Yanqing had accepted Autumn Moon. In that case, would he accept others in the future? At this moment, Yiling also flew over. Lu Ming introduced the two of them. Brother Lu, at this rate it'll be difficult to gather 12 billion desolate pills for you. Yiling sighed. It doesn't matter. We've gained a lot this time. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He knew in his heart that given the previous alchemy furnaces, it was impossible to gather 12 billion primordial pills by the time the deadline of 50 years was up. There were not enough cauldrons for refining pills. However, this trip to the 5 Elements Immortal Mountain, coupled with the heavenly human tribe members they had killed before, should be able to obtain some cauldrons. Immediately, they took out the storage rings they had obtained from the heavenly human tribe. Just now, they had killed at least 70 strong heavenly human tribe members who were at the 9th level of the divine god realm and had the battle strength of 5 or 6 stars. These people were not weak, so they should be able to gain a lot. After counting, it was indeed a great harvest. On average, each person had more than a dozen cauldrons. In total, there were about 1,000 cauldrons. In addition to the experts they had killed in the 5 Elements Immortal Mountain, the number of cauldrons added up. That's enough. Lu Ming's face lit up with joy. There were still nearly 9 years before the 50-year deadline. The alchemy cauldrons in his hands were enough to help Lu Ming gather 12 billion primordial pills in the next 9 years. I still have about 1,000 cauldrons. I'll give them all to you. At this moment, Xian Yanqing said and waved her hand. A large number of cauldrons flew out. There were really 1,000 cauldrons. Most of them were 1 meter in diameter. However, there were about 30 cauldrons that were 3 meters in diameter. Everyone, including Lu Ming, was dumbfounded. Xian Yanqing alone had over 1,000 cauldrons. She was only one person. This was too terrifying. I just came in a few years earlier, so I got the upper hand. Xian Yanqing explained casually. Even so, Lu Ming and the others took a while to react. Then they were faced with a new problem. The cauldrons were definitely enough. However, the desolate chi in the earth vein was not enough. The desolate chi in the earth vein should be enough to refine 10 billion desolate pills. Obviously it was not enough. With so many cauldrons, it would be refined in less than 9 years. There are many high-grade earth veins in this hidden area. The desolate chi is extremely rich. Let's split up and bring a batch of cauldrons to the other earth veins to refine pills. Lu Ming said. Good idea. Let's go immediately. Bubbles exclaimed. There's no hurry. Yichu Tianji and the others are still in this astral palace. It's not good for us to go out. We can wait for a while. Yichu Tianji and the others will not stay for long. They will go to the other astral palaces to look for opportunities. Lu Ming said. Everyone nodded. Then they worked together and activated the cauldrons to refine pills. Right now, everyone had over 3,000 pill furnaces in their hands. Activating them all at once was way too horrifying. It was as though there was a gigantic black hole that was sucking in all the desolate chi in the surroundings into the pill furnaces. Half a day later, countless primordial pills flew out of the elixir cauldron. They were densely packed and there was no telling how many of them there were. Lu Ming used his taboo power to guide them and put them all into his storage ring. Then they continued. Just like that, they stayed in the earth vein for a year. As they refined pills crazily, the desolate chi in the earth vein decreased at a speed visible to the naked eye. At this rate, the desolate chi in the earth vein would be exhausted in a few years. Chapter 4397. At this moment, Lu Ming and the others set off. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and Dandan left the earth vein. The three of them took away more than 1,000 pill furnaces. Autumn Moon, Bubbles, and Yiling continued to refine pills. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and Dandan left the earth vein and headed north. There was a high-grade earth vein there that contained extremely dense desolate chi. It was probably half as dense as the one they had previously occupied. Naturally, they could not let it go. Soon they arrived at the earth vein. Along the way they heard that Yi Chu Tianji and the other sons of heaven had indeed left the Star Palace. This made Lu Ming and the others feel relieved. From afar, the desolate qi in this earth vein was extremely dense. It should be able to refine another 3 to 4 billion desolate pills. Without hesitation, the three of them charged into the earth vein. However, as soon as the three of them got close to the earth vein, they were discovered by the heavenly human tribe. It's Mu Yun. It's them. Oh no, set up the 9 heavens battle formation. The heavenly human tribe in the earth vein roared. 2 groups of people quickly gathered and set up the 9 heavens battle formation. There were more than 200 people in the 2 groups. Among them there were many 9th-level divine gods. The 9 heavens battle formation was also very powerful. However, Lu Ming and the others had Dandan. They had brought Dandan with them to deal with the 9 heavens battle formation. Lu Ming had brought Xian Yanqing and Dandan with a purpose. In terms of battle strength, Xian Yanqing was the highest. It was enough to bring Xian Yanqing along. They brought Dandan with them to break the 9 heavens battle formation of the heavenly human tribe. This combination was almost perfect. As expected, Dandan attacked. Dense runes spread out and quickly broke the 9 heavens battle formation of the heavenly human tribe. Then Xian Yanqing and Lu Ming rushed over. In fact, Xian Yanqing alone was enough to deal with them. With a wave of her hand, black lotus flowers appeared one after another. The petals of the lotus flowers were sharper than the sharpest divine weapons. They tore through the air and shot toward the celestial race. In an instant, dozens of heavenly humans were killed. Let's go. Run. The remaining members of the heavenly human tribe panicked, including the 2 prodigies of the heavenly human tribe who possessed 9-star battle prowess. Their faces were filled with horror as they fled into the distance. You won't be able to leave. All of you stay here. Heavenly Demon Domain. Xian Yanqing's cold voice rang out. A special domain spread out, instantly enveloping the entire earth vein, including the heavenly humans. In the heavenly demon domain, the heavenly human tribe members would be greatly suppressed. At the same time, countless sharp lotus petals danced in the sky within the heavenly demon territory. Puff. Puff. The heavenly human tribe members were killed one by one. Even the 2 prodigies of the heavenly human tribe who possessed 9-star battle prowess were no match for Xian Yanqing. In an instant, hundreds of heavenly human tribe members were killed. I haven't even made a move yet. Lu Ming muttered. Xian Yanqing was too fast. Before Lu Ming could make a move, all the heavenly human tribe members had been killed. He had reached the 9th layer of the great god realm and possessed 12-star battle prowess. He was so powerful that he was almost invincible among the great god realm. Unless Lu Ming broke through to the 9th layer of the great god realm, he would be able to suppress Xian Yanqing. To put it bluntly, an ordinary cultivator of the 1st layer of the great god realm would have to avoid such a battle prowess. The gap between the great god realm and the great god realm was even bigger and harder to cross. However, it was not impossible to cross it. A top prodigy of the 9th layer of the great god realm with 9-star battle prowess could definitely contend with an ordinary 1st layer of the great god realm. With Xian Yanqing's battle prowess, it would be easy for him to suppress an ordinary 1st layer of the great god realm. After killing the heavenly human tribe members, Dandan set up a formation and summoned flames to burn the corpses of the heavenly human tribe members. Of course, the storage rings were all in their hands. However, they scanned the storage rings and found no pill furnaces. There were only a few desolate pills. The pill furnaces should be in the earth vein. Let's go in and take a look. Lu Ming said. The 3 of them entered the earth vein and found a few hundred pill furnaces in 2 different places. It was obvious that the heavenly human tribe members were refining pills. When they found Lu Ming and the others, they did not put away their pill furnaces. This benefited Lu Ming and the others. They now had a few hundred more pill furnaces. Dandan, you set up the formation. We'll refine the pills. Lu Ming said. Don't worry. Leave it to me. With that, Dandan disappeared and began setting up a formation around the earth vein. There were no trees to protect this place. They were afraid that the heavenly human tribe would counterattack, so they needed Dandan to set up a formation. As long as Dandan had enough time, he would be able to set up a powerful formation. If the heavenly human tribe dared to attack, they would definitely suffer. Meanwhile, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing activated their pill furnaces and started refining pills. It was safer to refine pills with 2 earth veins. They would definitely be able to gather 12 billion desolate pills, and there would be more. However, the more desolate pills the better. Whether it was Autumn Moon, Bubbles, or Yiling, they all needed desolate pills to strengthen their cultivation. However, Xian Yanqing and Dandan did not need desolate pills. Xian Yanqing had absorbed far more desolate pills than he needed. His cultivation was already extremely stable. As for Dandan, because he had absorbed a drop of 5 elements fairy tier, he was already too strong. He did not need desolate pills. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, another year had passed. During this year, the heavenly human tribe did not attack. Perhaps it was because they did not know that Lu Ming and the others had occupied this earth vein, or there were other reasons. Of course, this was better. Dandan spent a year to set up a powerful formation around the earth vein, turning this place into a dangerous place. Lu Ming also had more and more primordial pills in his hands. At this time, there were still 7 years before the 50-year deadline. Soon another 4 years had passed. There were still 3 years before the 50-year deadline. At this time, Lu Ming had gathered the 12 billion desolate pills he needed. At this time, Lu Ming returned to the earth vein and started refining desolate pills to break through. It would definitely take a long time to break through to the 9th level of the Divine God realm. After all, he had to refine the 12 billion desolate pills. Even though Lu Ming was refining desolate pills very quickly, it would still take a long time to refine the 12 billion desolate pills. This time, Lu Ming used 2 months to refine all the 12 billion desolate pills. Then he started to break through to the next level. With enough desolate pills, breaking through to the next level was a matter of course. Soon Lu Ming's aura skyrocketed. So powerful. The aura of a 9th level Divine God realm is even more terrifying than many divine masters. Yiling sighed. Brother Lu Ming is of course the most powerful. Now that he has broken through to the 9th level of the Divine God realm, no one in the Divine God realm will be a match for him. Bubbles said. I believe that. Yiling nodded. Chapter 4398. Yiling nodded seriously. The more he interacted with Lu Ming, the more he felt that Lu Ming was powerful and unfathomable. After a while, Lu Ming's aura finally stabilized and he opened his eyes. I've finally reached the 9th layer of the Divine God realm. Now, I'm not afraid of anyone in the Divine God realm. Yichu Tianji, I hope to fight with you. Lu Ming's eyes shone with confidence. Before his breakthrough, he was indeed far from being Yichu Tianji's match. If they fought, he would be easily suppressed. However, it was different now. After breaking through from the 8th layer of the Divine God realm to the 9th layer of the Divine God realm, his battle strength had increased by 3 stars. It was enough to suppress Yichu Tianji. There are still 3 years before the battle for the origin seed. Let's stabilize our cultivation in these 3 years. Lu Ming muttered. After that, Lu Ming and the others continued to refine the desolation pills in the 2 earth veins. When they were free, they would also cultivate, hoping to become the strongest in order to prepare for the battle for the origin seed. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. Soon it had been 50 years since they entered the Taishang Immortal City. At this time, everyone had refined all the desolation pills they had on them. This was because they could not bring the desolation pills out. If they did not refine them, they would only be wasted. At this time, everyone stopped refining pills and cultivating. Those who were wandering in the immortal abode all left the immortal abode to wait for the next battle for the origin seed. The origin seed was very important. It was related to the cultivation of the Divine Master realm. With the origin seed, the cultivation of the Divine Master realm would be much smoother. It would be as if they had a direction and would not take any detours. Of course, the most important thing about the origin seed was the origin realm. With the origin seed, the chances of breaking through to the origin realm would greatly increase. This was the most important thing. The origin realm was called Origin Venerables. In the Heavenly Palace they were called Heavenly Venerables. Among the primordial divine spirits they were called primary gods. This was the true peak power of the universe. It was incomparably powerful and could destroy galaxies. Origin realm existences were not only powerful, but their lifespans were also extremely long. They could exist as long as the universe. The lifespan of an origin realm expert was as long as the universe had a lifespan. The origin realm was basically the ultimate goal of all cultivators in the primitive universe. It was also the peak of the second step of cultivation, the God state. However, the origin energy seed was related to the origin realm. Who would not be tempted? Even if they did not break through to reciprocity in the future, just being able to cultivate a little more smoothly at the Divine Lord realm was enough to tempt countless people. Above the ley line, Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon, Dandan, Bubbles, and Yi Ling stood side by side, waiting for the 50-year period to come. Buzz. Suddenly the sky trembled and small vortexes appeared. Then, a flight of stairs extended out from these small vortexes. A flight of stairs extended from one of the vortexes all the way to Lu Ming. Not only Lu Ming but Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon, and the others also had a staircase in front of them. Each of them had a flight of stairs that extended to their eyes. It was not just Lu Ming and the others. Everyone who entered the Zenith Supreme Immortal City, regardless of which of the 36-star palaces or the first, second, or third floor of the Zenith Supreme Immortal City, had a flight of stairs in front of them. It had begun. Lu Ming and the others knew that the battle for the Origin Energy Seed had begun. Lu Ming had read the information given by Fei Huang and knew that they had to first step on this flight of stairs and pass a test. Only those who passed the test had the right to compete for the Origin Energy Seed. They had to compete for the opportunity to condense the Origin Energy Seed. "Let's go," Lu Ming said. After saying that, he stepped onto the flight of stairs. The moment he stepped onto the flight of stairs, an invisible force enveloped Lu Ming. This force constantly permeated as if it wanted to see through Lu Ming. Then a large number of items flew out from Lu Ming's storage ring. There were weapons and pill furnaces from the Zenith Supreme Immortal City. All the weapons and pill furnaces flew out and turned into rays of light that flew into the distance and disappeared between heaven and earth. It was the same for Xian Yanqing and the others. As soon as they stepped onto the flight of stairs, the weapons and pill furnaces they obtained from the Zenith Supreme Immortal City flew away. Luckily, the 5 elemental immortal tears are still here. Lu Ming showed a hint of joy. As expected, the 5 elemental immortal tears would not fly away and could be brought out. In fact, apart from the 5 elemental immortal tears, there were also a few things that could be brought out, such as the metal materials obtained from the Zenith Supreme Immortal City. However, the metal materials in the Zenith Supreme Immortal City were very rare, and not many people obtained them. Lu Ming did not stop and continued to step forward. In the end, he entered the vortex and disappeared. After entering the vortex, Lu Ming seemed to have entered another space. Around him, the void was gray and it was difficult to tell the direction. Under Lu Ming's feet was a path made of bluestone that led to the front. Lu Ming walked along the bluestone path and kept moving forward. Not long after, a door blocked Lu Ming's path. It was a light door that blocked Lu Ming's path. "Is this the trial?" Lu Ming murmured. At this moment, a voice suddenly rang in Lu Ming's ears. "Those who break through the door can take part in the battle for the Origin Seed. Those who fail will be sent out of the Zenith Supreme Immortal City." The voice sounded old, like an old man in his twilight years. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Are there still living creatures in the Zenith Supreme Immortal City? I don't think so, maybe they're just weapon spirits or formation spirits. Lu Ming's mind was racing and his imagination was running wild. However, it was similar to what he had guessed. The light door was some kind of trial. Only those who passed it had the right to take part in the battle for the Origin Seed. It made sense. There must be a selection process. Otherwise, there would be too many people. This time, there were hundreds of millions of people from the entire universe who entered the Zenith Supreme Immortal City. Among them, there were only a small number of divine masters. Most of them were divine emperors, or divine lords. Among them, the number of divine emperors and divine lords was the largest. However, the number of divine emperors was also very shocking. There were at least a few million people in the 36-star palaces or even more. If they didn't filter out a batch, it would take a long time. Boom. Lu Ming attacked and threw a punch at the light door. With a loud bang, the light door exploded and dissipated into energy. So simple? Lu Ming was slightly taken aback. He didn't even use much strength in the punch just now and the light door was blasted open. It was even simpler than he had imagined. Maybe my combat strength is too strong, haha. Lu Ming laughed out loud and then strode over. When he stepped over the light door, the space changed again and he appeared in another place. This is... Lu Ming looked around. Lu Ming found that he was standing on a lotus. Yes, it was a lotus, a white lotus. The diameter of the lotus was about 1 meter. Chapter 4399. Lu Ming discovered that he was standing on a white lotus flower with a diameter of 1 meter. This lotus flower was suspended in the air. Moreover, Lu Ming discovered that there were many such lotus flowers all around him. There were many lotuses floating in the air and there was a figure on each of them. Shaoqing, Autumn Moon, Dandan, Bubbles. Lu Ming quickly looked around and saw Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon, Dandan, Bubbles and the others not far from him. At the same time, he also saw many strong cultivators from the heavenly human tribe such as Yichu Tianji, Yichu Qianyue, Yichu Haohan and the others. These people were also standing on a white lotus flower looking around. Very soon, their gazes landed on Lu Ming, emitting cold murderous intent. It's him, Mu Yun. It's Mu Yun. No, it should be Lu Ming. He's Lu Ming. That's right, I also heard that Mu Yun is Lu Ming and Lu Ming is Mu Yun. In an instant at least a few thousand people looked at Lu Ming. Their eyes were as sharp as swords as if they wanted to pierce through Lu Ming. Back when they were at the Five Elements Immortal Mountain, Lu Ming's identity as Mu Yun had already been exposed by Yi Chu Qianyue. Now that the news had spread, most people knew Lu Ming's true identity. Mu Yun, know that damned Lu Ming. Someone in the crowd bellowed. His hatred for Lu Ming was extremely strong. That person was Gabbert. At that moment, Gabbert's aura was extremely powerful. His body was covered by a white holy light and his aura was extremely strong. He had reached the 9th layer of the divine god realm. As if he had sensed something, Lu Ming looked at Gabbert. Gabbert has broken through to the 9th great supreme god layer. It seems like he's had a great adventure recently. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Their gazes collided in the air as if sparks were about to fly. Lu Ming, I will kill you. Gabbert roared in his heart, and the killing intent in his eyes intensified. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. He had the same thoughts as Gabbert. However, Lu Ming's gaze didn't stay on Gabbert for too long, because he was attracted by the other people. That is, Dark Knight Rose, Di Jenny and Yin Jioling. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat as he saw some familiar faces. It was Dark Knight Rose, Di Jenny, Yin Jioling and the others. At this moment, Dark Knight Rose and the others' strength had also become extremely terrifying. Their auras were vigorous and unfathomable. Dark Knight Rose looked at Lu Ming with a faint smile. Di Jenny looked at Lu Ming, his battle intent surged and his sword intent soared. Yin Jioling looked at Lu Ming with strong killing intent. The real Yin Jioling had already been possessed by the baleful Yin Qi. At this moment, Yin Jioling had become extremely terrifying. He also clearly remembered that he had fought with Lu Ming previously. When Yin Jioling was possessed by the baleful Yin Qi, he had entered the dark pit in the dark pit demon mountain. No one knew what he had obtained, but it gave people a terrifying feeling. One should know that the dark pit demon mountain was one of the most terrifying forbidden lands in the chaotic universe. Yin Jioling was definitely not to be underestimated. As for Dark Knight Rose, she had always given Lu Ming an unfathomable feeling. She had established a force that specialized in collecting the top supreme talents in the universe. She wanted to build a force that was comparable to the Heavenly Palace. Her ambition was astonishing. However, when her gaze landed on Xian Yanqing, her body trembled violently, and she revealed a look of shock. Although it was just a flash and she immediately hid it, Lu Ming still caught it. Dark Knight Rose seems to know Shao Qing. She seems to be very shocked when she saw Shao Qing. Lu Ming thought in his heart. At the same time, Xian Yanqing also saw Dark Knight Rose and frowned, revealing a look of contemplation. Shao Qing, do you know that woman? Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Xian Yanqing. I don't know her, but this person gives me a familiar feeling, Xian Yanqing replied. It seems that Dark Knight Rose is hiding a lot of secrets. Lu Ming thought. Then Lu Ming looked at the surrounding environment. Is this place already outside the Grand Supreme Immortal City? It seems to be above the Grand Supreme Immortal City, Lu Ming whispered in his heart. This was because he discovered that they were currently inside a huge barrier of light. They were enveloped by a huge barrier of light. Below the barrier of light they could see a huge city. It was clearly the Grand Supreme Immortal City. Above them there were many onlookers. Some of these onlookers were Origin Realm experts from the Heavenly Palace and the Heaven Destroyer. Most of them were those who had been eliminated. There were at least a few 100 million of them. Yes, those who had not been selected and had not broken through the door of light had been sent out of the Grand Supreme Immortal City. At this moment they were standing in the void and could see Lu Ming and the others through the barrier of light. Moreover, Lu Ming also discovered that there were 2 other barriers of light similar to them. There were a total of 3 barriers of light and there were many people in each of them. One of the barriers of light is for divine masters, the other one is for god emperors, and the other one is for those below the god emperor realm. Lu Ming made a judgment very easily. The 3 barriers of light hovered above the Grand Supreme Immortal City, enveloping 3 different levels of people. Those outside could see them but they could not enter. First, the Divine Master Realm competition will begin. There are only 72 spots for the Divine Master Realm. Only those who enter the top 72 will have the chance to connect to the Cosmic Sea and comprehend the origin. The rules are very simple. You will fight in pairs. Of course, everyone will have a few chances. Also, you will not die in this competition. A voice suddenly rang out. Everyone could hear it. Not only could the people inside the barriers hear it, but even those outside could hear it. The rules are indeed similar to what Senior Fei Huang introduced. Lu Ming muttered to himself. Soon the Divine Master Realm competition began. The two of them fought against each other. Lu Ming and the others watched seriously. Firstly, they could familiarize themselves with the rules. Secondly, watching the Divine Master Realm experts fight was very helpful to them. They could get some inspiration. One had to know that most of them were at the 9th level of the Divine Master Realm. The next step was the Divine Master Realm. It was naturally beneficial to watch first. The battle between the Divine Master Realm experts was incomparably intense. However, they would not die because the lotus under their feet had a mysterious effect. Even if they were killed, they could revive on the lotus. This made the battle even more intense. They could attack without restraint. They were not afraid of being killed. After all, they could revive. There were at least thousands of Divine Master Realm existences, but there were only 72 spots. The competition was extremely fierce. Even among the same race there was no mercy. They fought with all their strength. Of course, the most intense battle was between the Heaven Destroyer and the Heavenly Palace. Once they met, it would be a life-and-death battle. Among them, Lu Ming saw many people at the level of the Lord of Heaven fight. It was really an eye-opener. He benefited a lot. Seeing that someone asked about Ling Yue, the story between Ling Yue and Lu Ming had not ended. In addition, the story between Mulin's, Huang Ling, and Lu Ming had not ended. Chapter 4400. The Battle of the Divine Masters lasted for several months before it finally came to an end. In the end, the 72 strongest Divine Masters flew into the sky on lotus flowers. They were still sitting cross-legged on the lotus flowers, but there was a layer of light shield around them. At the same time, a beam of light rose from their bodies, rushed into the eternal void and disappeared. Was this the connection to the cosmic sea? Many people wondered. Only those defeated Divine Masters were disqualified. They were teleported out one by one and became spectators outside. The top 3 are all from the Heavenly Human Tribe. The Heavenly Human Tribe is too strong. Is there no one who can compete with them? Lu Ming heard many people discussing. They were all from the Heaven Exterminating Army. In the battle of the Divine Masters just now, the top 3 were occupied by the Heavenly Human Tribe. On the Heaven Destroyer's side, the strongest Divine Master only occupied the 4th place. Moreover, most of the 72 people who were qualified to connect to the Cosmic Sea were from the Heavenly Human Tribe. On the Heaven Destroyer's side, there were less than 20 people. The gap was too big. This made the Heaven Destroyer's people somewhat disappointed. Humph, a mere traitor wants to compete with the Heavenly Human Tribe? You're overestimating yourselves. You're just a mantis trying to stop a chariot. We have countless geniuses. How can you compare to us? The Heavenly Human Tribe couldn't help but mock. Suddenly, the Heaven Destroyer's people were angry. The Heavenly Human Tribe is invincible? How ridiculous. How were the 4 Heavenly Palace destroyed? Since we can destroy the 4 Heavenly Palace, we can destroy all of you. It's just a matter of time. The Heaven Destroyer's people retorted. At the peak of the Heavenly Palace, there were a total of 9 Heavenly Palaces. Now there were only 5 left. 4 of them had been destroyed after a long period of time. The Heavenly Human Tribe had always regarded this matter as a disgrace. Now that it was mentioned, the Heavenly Human Tribe was furious. You traitors, you're courting death. The Heavenly Human Tribe's people roared. Ah, come and bite me if you dare. The Heaven Destroyer's people were fearless. On this lotus no one could attack each other. Only when the competition started and it was their turn would they be able to exchange blows. Now, Celestial Emperors, let the competition begin. The rules of the competition are the same as those in the God Lord realm. It's a 2-on-1 duel, and the winner's lotus root will be raised by 1 zhang. The loser's lotus root will fall by 1 zhang. At this moment the old voice rang out once more. It was the same voice that had announced the start of the Divine Lord Realm competition. Lu Ming could tell that this was the same voice that reminded him to attack the light door. When this voice rang out, the crowd immediately quieted down. At the same time, a huge circular platform appeared between them. This round platform was the battle stage. It was incomparably tough, and no matter how strong the attack was, it wouldn't be able to shatter it. This was something that had already been verified by the Divine Master before. Even the top Divine Masters couldn't shatter this battle stage. There are a total of 36,000 of you. In the end, there will only be 130 places. Only the strongest 130 people will have the chance to connect to the Cosmic Sea. The competition will be random. Two people will fight at random. The winner's lotus root will rise by 1 zhang, and the loser's lotus root will fall by 1 zhang. When the lotus root reaches 0, you will be eliminated. With the protection of this lotus, those who are killed won't really die. They can be resurrected, but their vitality will be depleted. They can also admit defeat directly. The old voice continued to ring out. Although he had already introduced the rules when he was in the God-Lord realm, he had to reintroduce them now. It seems that everyone has 3 chances. Lu Ming pondered. This was because the lotus root was only 3 zhang tall, and its roots were embedded in the void. Every time one lost, the root would fall by 1 zhang. After losing 3 times, the root would fall to 0, and the contestant would be eliminated. Lu Ming knew this rule very well. It was for the sake of fairness. Because the 2 sides of the battle were random, some unlucky people might encounter a strong opponent at the beginning and lose. This way they still had a chance. Even if the root fell by 1 zhang, they still had a chance to turn the tables and climb up by defeating others. Of course, if they encountered a very strong opponent 3 times in a row, there was no other way. Being unlucky was also a reflection of not being strong enough. There were only 130 places. Many people's eyes lit up. They secretly swore to fight for a place. Now the competition begins. The old voice rang out. As soon as the voice fell, 2 of the lotuses moved and flew toward the circular battle stage. They flew to the edge of the battle stage. Needless to say, the 2 of them were going to compete. Swoosh. Their gazes collided and there seemed to be sparks. A strong killing intent spread out. One of them was from the Heaven Destroyer, and the other was from the Heavenly Human Tribe. What a coincidence. The Heavenly Human Tribe and the Heaven Destroyer met in the first round. Both of them were in the prime of their lives. They were not from the younger generation. There were a total of 36,000 people who passed the assessment. Naturally, not all of them were from the younger generation. Among them, most of them were from the prime of their lives. Swoosh. The 2 of them moved and jumped onto the battle stage. As soon as they jumped onto the battle stage, the 2 of them charged at each other and clashed. Boom. In an instant, the 2 of them exchanged a blow. In just one blow, the winner was decided. The brawny man from the Heaven Destroyer trembled violently and retreated. He spat out blood from his mouth. He lost. The difference in their battle prowess is too great. Lu Ming shook his head. Although both of them were in the 9th layer of the Divine God realm, the brawny man from the Heavenly Human Tribe was obviously much stronger. He had a 5-star battle prowess. On the other hand, the brawny man from the Heaven Destroyer only had a 3-star battle prowess. With a difference of 2 stars, it was completely one-sided. Kill. The brawny man from the Heavenly Human Tribe injured his opponent with 1 blow. Then he continued to attack his opponent like a torrential storm. The brawny man from the Heaven Destroyer tried his best to block the attacks, but it was useless. After a few blows, he was seriously injured and could no longer fight. Traitor, although I can't kill you here, it'll be harder for me to kill you than to kill you. The brawny man from the Heavenly Human Tribe rushed toward the brawny man from the Heaven Destroyer. He grabbed his opponent's leg, swung him up, and smashed him on the ground. With a bang, the brawny man from the Heaven Destroyer had many bones broken. He spat out large mouthfuls of blood, and his entire body was deformed. He looked extremely miserable. However, he was not dead. The brawny man from the Heavenly Human Tribe had done this on purpose. He had controlled his strength very well. He only wanted to torture his opponent. He would not kill him so easily. All right. Let's continue. Let these traitors know how powerful we are. Haha, this is so fun. On the field, the people from the Heavenly Human Tribe laughed. As for the people from the other races in the universe, they did not interrupt and remained silent. Chapter 44:01. However, the people on Heaven Destroyer's side were infuriated. Damn it. I'd rather die than be humiliated. Heavenly Human Tribe, don't let me meet them. Otherwise I'll make them regret it. The people on Heaven Destroyer's side roared angrily. Both sides glared at each other. The smell of gunpowder was intense. However, the burly man from the Heavenly Human Tribe's face became even more ferocious. He sneered and said, "A bunch of lowly things can't be humiliated. How ridiculous. Kneel." After saying that, he pressed down with his hand. A powerful force burst out and formed a rope-like force that tied up the man from Heaven Destroyer. Under the rope-like force, the burly man from Heaven Destroyer knelt on the ground. The burly man from Heaven Destroyer looked up to the sky and roared. He was extremely humiliated. His eyes were full of shame and anger. What are you screaming for? Get lost, lowly thing. The strong man from the heavenly human tribe kicked the man from the heaven exterminating troop out of the fighting ring. When he flew out of the fighting ring, his lotus automatically flew over and caught him. Then it flew back to its original position. However, the roots of the lotus began to shrink rapidly. From 3 zhang tall, they had shrunk to 2 zhang tall. The celestial race man took a step forward and returned to his lotus flower. His lotus flower also flew back. However, the root of the lotus flower rose from 3 feet to 4 feet tall. It rose by 1 foot. Damn it! The people on Heaven Destroyer's side roared angrily. They were extremely displeased. Losing a battle was not a big deal. The main thing was that the people from the heavenly human tribe had gone too far. On the other hand, the people from the heavenly human tribe sneered with disdain. The first battle had already caused the tension between Heaven Destroyer and the heavenly human tribe to be very high. At this time, 2 more lotus flowers flew toward the fighting ring and approached it. This time, the 2 contestants were not from Heaven Destroyer or the heavenly human tribe. Instead, they were from 2 major tribes in the primitive universe. The combat power of the 2 contestants was about the same. After a few hundred fierce moves, one of them finally won by a slight advantage. The winner's lotus root would be raised by 10 feet while the loser's lotus root would be lowered by 10 feet. Then 2 more people went up. Just like that, the 2-on-2 battles continued. Some of them had a huge difference in strength, and victory and defeat were quickly decided. However, there were also some who had similar strength, and it would take a long time for victory and defeat to be decided. Moreover, some people were killed on the battle stage. However, once someone was killed, their flesh and blood would fly back to the lotus and revive. It was just that a large amount of essence energy was consumed. Seeing the others come back to life with their own eyes made everyone feel reassured. The battle that followed became even more intense. It was a battle of life and death. A few days passed in the blink of an eye. It seems like you can pass the exam if you have the strength of the 9th Great Supreme God layer. After a few days of observation, Lu Ming realized that the weakest of the 36,000 people who had passed the selection had the strength of the 9th Great Supreme God layer. Take note, it's combat prowess that reaches a certain level, not a certain level of cultivation. As long as your battle prowess reaches the 9th Great Supreme God layer, you can pass the selection. Therefore, not all of those 36,000 people had the strength of the 9th Great Supreme God layer. Many of them had the strength of the 8th, 7th, or 6th Great Supreme God layer, and they had the strength of the 9th Great Supreme God layer. 36,000 people would compete in pairs. It would take quite some time for all of them to be done. Time passed day by day. Soon half a month had passed. During this period, Autumn Moon, Xian Yanqing, Dandan, Bubbles and the others all fought. They didn't encounter any strong opponents, and they didn't encounter any heavenly human tribe members either. They won easily. Their lotus roots had all reached a height of 12 meters. Lu Ming also saw Dark Knight Rose, Di Jenny, Yin Jioling and the others fight. They defeated their opponents in one move, which gave people a feeling that they were unfathomable. These people are getting stronger and stronger. If they don't use their full strength, it's hard to tell their real battle prowess. Lu Ming thought. As for the sons and daughters of heaven from the heavenly palace, their opponents admitted defeat immediately, because they knew they would lose without a fight. Why not save some strength for themselves? At this moment 2 more people went up. Gabbert. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. This was because one of them was Gabe. The other person was a young man. He was tall and sturdy, and his body emitted an ancient aura. He was a genius from the Heaven Destroyer, a descendant of the primordial divine spirit. The aura he gave off was the aura of the primordial divine spirit. You're Gabbert. I know you. You're a genius on the universe genius list. The descendant of the primordial divine spirit from the Heaven Destroyer said. Since you know my name, why don't you admit defeat? Gabbert said coldly. He was full of confidence. Admit defeat? Haha, although Gabbert is a genius on the universe genius list, you're at the bottom. In my eyes, you're nothing. The descendant of the primordial divine spirit laughed contemptuously. The people from the Heaven Destroyer were also very disgusted with the angels. Because the angels were completely the lackeys of the heavenly human tribe. Over the years, the angels had hunted down many Heaven Destroyer. You're courting death. Being looked down upon, Gabbert's eyes flashed with cruel murderous intent. Then a powerful aura burst out from his body, and 12 angel wings stretched out from his back. Why are his angel wings golden? Exclamations came from the scene. Even Lu Ming's eyes flashed a few times, revealing a look of surprise. This was because the wings of the angels were almost all pure white. In the legends there were fallen angels who had pitch-black wings. However, there were very few golden angel wings. There was only one situation that would appear, and that was the Angel King. Oh my god, those are the Angel King wings. Has Gabbert's bloodline turned into the Angel King bloodline? Is it really the Angel King? Many people were discussing, especially those from the top 10 races. They were all famous races, so they naturally knew each other better. The Angel King bloodline was the legendary bloodline of the angels. It was known as the strongest bloodline of the angels. Gabbert had evolved into the Angel King bloodline? It's the royal bloodline. It's really the royal bloodline. How did Gabbert succeed? Some people spoke, their voices were filled with disbelief. These were the other geniuses of the angels. Among the angels, the geniuses who were as famous as Gabbert or even more famous than Gabbert were the most shocked. As an angel, they could naturally tell at a glance that it was the Angel King bloodline. The reason for that was because they felt an enormous amount of pressure and fear from that oppressive might. That was the fear of a superior being. Ah, good. Outside, the elders of the angels laughed loudly. These were the divine masters of the angels. They had all retreated outside after losing the competition. At this moment they were extremely excited. Chapter 44:02. The godly lords of the angel race were extremely excited, while the godly lords of the other top 10 races looked gloomy. The reason for that was because this was not a good thing for them. Once the angel royal bloodline reached its peak, its strength would be extremely terrifying. Moreover, the angel royal bloodline had limitless potential, and it would have a chance to reach the origin realm in the future. Once the angel race had one more origin realm existence, their strength would increase greatly, and it would be easy for them to suppress the other top 10 races. Other than the quasi-saint race, no other race could compare to the angel race. This Gilbert, to think that he has such potential. The geniuses on the universe prodigy list looked very solemn. Even the top 10 geniuses were the same. The angel royal bloodline was enough to threaten everyone on the universe prodigy list, including the terrifying existences at the top of the list. The people outside the arena had different feelings. On the battle platform, the descendant of the primordial divine spirit narrowed his eyes, and he looked extremely solemn. Boom. He also unleashed a powerful aura, and his body quickly enlarged, turning into a giant beast. This was the form of the primordial divine spirit. Transforming into the form of the primordial divine spirit was the most powerful battle form of the descendant of the primordial divine spirit. Lose. The descendant of the primordial divine spirit roared and pounced on Gabbert. He grabbed at Gabbert with his sharp claws, wanting to tear Gabbert to pieces. The void vibrated, emitting a terrifying fluctuation. 7-star battle strength. Many people were shocked. As soon as the descendant of the primordial divine spirit attacked, some powerful people could sense that the descendant of the primordial divine spirit's battle strength had reached 7 stars. Of course, his cultivation was also at the 9th level of the divine emperor realm. This battle strength was absolutely powerful, and he could indeed look down on Gabbert, who was ranked at the bottom of the universe prodigy list. However, he did not expect Gabbert to evolve into an angel royal bloodline. Shwa. At this moment, Gabbert moved. His body was enveloped in golden holy light. He rushed out as if his entire body had turned into a golden sword, slashing at the descendant of the primordial divine spirit. A clear sound spread in the air. The attack of the descendant of the primitive godly spirit was broken in an instant. The gigantic body stiffened and a golden sword light flashed. Gabbert's body reappeared on the other side of the battle stage. Primordial divine spirit's descendant of the primordial divine spirit's forehead. And the blood became bigger and bigger, until it covered his entire body. Oh, how is this possible? Said the descendant of the primordial god spirit. His voice was filled with disbelief. Then, with a thump, his body was split in half and he collapsed onto the fighting platform. In's descendant of the primordial divine spirit's attack. Many people sucked in a breath of cold air, especially the geniuses who had competed with Jiabot before. They were even more shocked. He had killed a descendant of the primordial godly spirit with the power of 7 stars in one strike. What kind of power was that? 8 or 9 stars. 9 pro combat battle. But everyone had the same opinion, which was that Gabbert had an unimaginable adventure in the Taishang Celestial City. Otherwise he would not have been able to improve so much. It was not because of the improvement of his cultivation, but because his battle strength had increased tremendously. Normally, if one's cultivation improved quickly, their battle strength would decrease, and it would be even more difficult to improve. However, Gabbert's cultivation had not only increased to the 9th level of the Great Supreme God realm, but his battle strength had also increased tremendously. It was really incredible. Swoosh, swoosh. The descendant of the primordial divine spirit's flesh and blood turned into rays of light, flying towards the lotus. Then the descendant of the primordial divine spirit's body reappeared on the lotus. He had come back to life. However, there was still fear in his eyes. If it had been somewhere else, he would have been killed. Although he had come back to life, the fear was still there. He was scared of Gabbert. At this moment, Gabbert looked at Lu Ming. Mu Yun, no, I should call you Lu Ming. Gabbert's voice was cold and disdainful. He continued, back then in the elf tribe, didn't you want to challenge me? Didn't you want to make a 1,000-year promise with me? I hope you won't be eliminated so early. If you meet me later, I will let you die first. At this moment, Gabbert was full of confidence, as if he could kill Lu Ming easily. Gabbert, you loser, have you forgotten that I broke your wings and you escaped so quickly? Lu Ming mocked. Gabbert's face turned cold and his eyes were filled with killing intent. Recalling what had happened last time, he was filled with killing intent towards Lu Ming. Breaking his wings was a great humiliation for the angel tribe. It was a stain in his life. He swore that he would definitely kill Lu Ming in the future. Otherwise, it would be difficult to wash away his shame. Back then I was careless, but this time I will kill you with one hand, said Gabbert coldly. It wasn't that he was overconfident, it was just that he was completely confident. Because Lu Ming's cultivation level was only that of the 8th Great Supreme God layer. Indeed, everyone could see that Lu Ming's cultivation level was only that of the 8th Great Supreme God layer. Because Lu Ming had used the Great Imitation Technique to imitate the Qi of the 8th Great Supreme God layer. The Great Imitation Technique was ranked 3rd among the 3,000 ancient secret skills. It was really mysterious. Not only could it imitate other people's Qi, but it could also imitate their cultivation level. Almost no one could see through it. Even an Almighty would not be able to tell Lu Ming's exact cultivation level. Facing Lu Ming, who only had the strength of the 8th Great Supreme God layer, Gabbert was extremely confident that he could easily kill Lu Ming. Many people looked at Lu Ming. Now they all knew that Lu Ming was Mu Yun. Many people had heard that Mu Yun and Gabbert had made a promise of 1,000 years because of the elf princess. It'll be interesting if those two fight. Many people had the same thought. I also hope that I can meet you. I don't mind breaking your wings again, said Lu Ming coldly. It's useless to show off. Try your best to survive, Gilbert said coldly. He took a step forward and returned to the top of the lotus. His lotus had risen by 1 zhang, reaching a height of 4 zhang. At that moment, 2 more lotuses flew towards the fighting stage. One of them was Lu Ming. Finally, it's my turn. Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. It's Lu Ming's turn. Let's see how strong he is. Lu Ming has a forbidden body. He's definitely not weak. I think he's at least 10 stars. Is a forbidden body really that strong? It shouldn't be weak. But it's very difficult to reach 11 stars. Some people were discussing spiritedly. No, he's probably really at 11 stars. We can't be careless, said a genius from the Heavenly Human clan. It was Yi Chu Qianyue. Chapter 4403. Everyone's hearts trembled as they looked to Yi Chu Qianyue. Yi Chu Qianyue was a son of heaven. A son of heaven had spoken in person. This was no small matter. Did Yi Chu Qianyue fight with Lu Ming? Is Lu Ming's combat ability really that powerful? Many people were shocked. Yelu Shikai, don't underestimate him, Yi Chu Qianyue said. That's right, Lu Ming's opponent this time was also from the Heavenly Human tribe, a top genius of the Heavenly Human tribe. The two of them flew to the fighting stage and faced each other. Don't worry, Your Highness, I will defeat him. Yelu Shikai nodded. His eyes were as sharp as a sword as he looked at Lu Ming. Sizzle. Wisps of pure white lightning spread out from his body and covered his entire body. This was the heavenly punishment energy. Since the Emperor had spoken, Yelu Shikai didn't dare to underestimate Lu Ming. He used the heavenly punishment energy at the beginning. The heavenly punishment energy around Yelu Shirkai's body intertwined and condensed into a goshawk. Different people would have different ways of using the 4 ultimate heavenly powers, and each person would have a different way of using them. Yelu Shirkai's method was different from others. He turned the heavenly punishment energy into a goshawk and covered his whole body. Swoosh. The goshawk flapped its wings and rushed towards Lu Ming. A strong wind blew and the void kept exploding. A violent force pressed towards Lu Ming. Boom. Lu Ming clenched his fist and a long spear condensed. He thrust the spear forward and collided with the goshawk's sharp claws. There was a violent explosion. The spear and the lightning swept out in all directions. Then the two figures retreated quickly. This move was evenly matched. What? The pupils of the majority of the people at the scene shrank, revealing expressions of shock. They were shocked by Lu Ming's strength. A moment before, Lu Ming had indeed displayed the strength of the 8th Great Supreme God layer. However, he had managed to block Yi Lui Shirkai's attack with the strength of the 8th Great Supreme God layer. That was terrifying. This was because everyone could see that Yi Lui Shirkai's battle prowess had reached 9 stars. Lu Ming's cultivation was 1 level lower than Yi Lui Shirkai's, yet he was able to block Yi Lui Shirkai's attack. Didn't that mean that Lu Ming's battle prowess had reached 12 stars? A series of gasps could be heard. 12 stars of battle prowess, this was too terrifying. The 4 heavenly palaces had 9 heavenly princes and heavenly daughters in total. Most of the heavenly daughters only had 11 stars of battle prowess. Didn't that mean that Lu Ming had surpassed most of the heavenly sons and daughters at the same level and was invincible? The taboo energy was actually so terrifying? No wonder even Yi Chu Chenyue warned him. We can't let this kid live. Outside the supreme immortal city, an old Empyrean spoke. His aged eyes were now filled with cold killing intent. He was a giant of the heavenly palace, an origin realm existence. He had lived for a long time and knew how terrifying it was to have 12 stars of battle prowess in the great supreme god realm. As long as he was alive, he might become another lord of the ancient divine court in the future, or someone like Fei Huang, who would become a great enemy of the heavenly palace. They must find a way to get rid of such a person. That's right. Once this matter is over, we must find a way to get rid of him. We can't let him grow. Another Empyrean spoke. Who do you want to get rid of? You'll have to get through me first. A cold voice sounded. It was naturally Fei Huang. Fei Huang's long dress fluttered as she stood on a black lotus, looking like a demon among demons. Humph. The other Empyreans snorted, but they were still quite afraid of Fei Huang, so they didn't say anything. Standing on one of the lotuses, Gilbert's pupils suddenly shrank. 12 stars of battle prowess. This Lu Ming really has 12 stars of battle prowess. Gabbert whispered. He was very shocked, but soon his shock turned into an even stronger killing intent. After all, he had fought with Lu Ming in an intense battle. At that time, he was defeated by Lu Ming with his higher cultivation. In the end, he escaped with broken wings. At that time, he guessed that Lu Ming's battle prowess was either 11 or 12 stars. Now that it was confirmed, although he was shocked, he quickly reacted. Lu Ming, so what if you have 12 stars of battle prowess? I'll still kill you. Gabbert shouted in a low voice, still confident. On the battle stage, Yi Lui Shirkai was extremely shocked. He looked at Lu Ming in disbelief. Is this all your strength? It's not enough to kill me. Lu Ming mocked. It's enough to kill you. Yi Lui Shirkai shouted and continued to attack Lu Ming. A goshawk, completely condensed by the power of heavenly punishment, with claws sharper than divine weapons, grabbed Lu Ming's head. Whoosh! Lu Ming waved his long spear. Spear light flashed as he fought with Yi Lui Shirkai. Boom! Boom! This time the two fought with speed. They kept exchanging blows and colliding. In the blink of an eye they had exchanged dozens of blows. However, it was still a draw. Kill, kill, kill. Yi Lui Shirkai's eyes were red with killing intent. He pushed his battle prowess to the extreme and kept attacking Lu Ming. Lu Ming also pushed his battle prowess to the extreme to fight with his opponent. However, Lu Ming kept his cultivation at the 8th layer of the Great God Realm. The reason why he hid his cultivation was that he was afraid that if he showed a higher cultivation, the people of the Heavenly Palace would be afraid and admit defeat as soon as they saw him. How boring would that be? Although he couldn't really kill the people of the Heavenly Human Tribe here, he could still abuse them, right? At the same time, he could also attack the morale of the Heavenly Human Tribe and their arrogant attitude. And that Gabbert? He really wanted to see the expressions on those people's faces when he turned the tables on them. It would definitely be very interesting. Soon, the two exchanged more than 200 blows. At this time, Lu Ming began to gain the upper hand. Because after a few hundred blows, Yi Lui Shirkai's strength was running out. Constantly using the power of heavenly punishment consumed a lot of energy. And Lu Ming's strength was still at the peak. Yi Lui Shirkai is going to lose. The forbidden power is long-lasting. He has a great advantage in a battle of the same level. Yelu Shirkai admit defeat. The people of the heavenly human tribe discussed. Some even asked Yelu Shirkai to admit defeat to avoid being humiliated. Want to admit defeat? It's too late. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. His figure flashed and disappeared from the spot, reappearing behind Yelu Shirkai. Great Aurora Art activate. Whoosh. Then a spear light burst out, piercing towards Yelu Shirkai's dantian. Too fast. Yelu Shirkai was already exhausted. It was too late for him to dodge. His dantian was directly pierced by the spear light. Yelu Shirkai screamed, suffering endless pain. Yelu Shirkai was about to shout and admit defeat. But Lu Ming slapped Yelu Shirkai's face. With a bang, Yelu Shirkai's face was smashed. The powerful force directly destroyed Yelu Shirkai's tongue and throat, making him unable to make a sound. Chapter 4404. Lu Ming smashed Yelu Shirkai's face with one slap, forcing him to swallow back the words admit defeat. Then he pressed down with his hand and a powerful force erupted, enveloping Yelu Shirkai's entire body. With a bang, Yelu Shirkai knelt down in front of Lu Ming. An eye for an eye. Previously, the people of the heavenly human tribe treated the people of Heaven Destroyer in this way. Now, Lu Ming used the same method to return the favor, letting the heavenly human tribe feel the feeling of being humiliated in public. The people of the heavenly human tribe were in an uproar. They were different from the people of Heaven Destroyer. The heavenly human tribe was high and mighty. They had ruled the primitive universe for countless years. For so many years, they looked down on the universe and regarded other creatures in the universe as ants. Any member of the heavenly human tribe would be praised high and mighty as long as they went out. They were rarely humiliated. At this time, a top genius of the heavenly human tribe was kneeling in front of Lu Ming. It had always been other creatures kneeling to them. When did they kneel to other creatures? Therefore, when such a thing happened, their tolerance was very low. Their mentality was completely broken. Damn bastard, what are you doing? You're committing a crime, a heinous crime. No one can save you. You're finished, you're completely finished. Many people of the heavenly human tribe roared. Their eyes were wide open and they were furious. Seeing the appearance of the heavenly human tribe, the people of the other races suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of pleasure in their hearts. They also took pleasure in their misfortune. However, Lu Ming responded to them with an even more violent action. Bang! Under the pressure of the forbidden power, Yelu Shirkai's entire body fell to the ground. His bones cracked and he vomited a large mouthful of blood. He looked like he was prostrating himself in front of Lu Ming. Then Lu Ming stepped down and stomped on Yelu Shirkai's face. The heavenly human tribe roared again and again. Their anger soared to the sky as if they were about to be burned by anger. This time, even the divine masters and heavenly venerables outside couldn't bear it anymore. Lu Ming, do you know the consequences of humiliating my heavenly human tribe? An old celestial venerable said, the threat in his voice obvious. However, would Lu Ming be afraid? Lu Ming gave him a sidelong glance and said disdainfully, Old man, do you think I'm scared? You're threatening me as if you'll let me off if I don't do this? After being mocked by Lu Ming, even the Empyrean, who had lived for countless years, narrowed his eyes and flashed with cold killing intent. If it weren't for the fact that they couldn't make a move here, he wouldn't have been able to resist the urge to kill Lu Ming. A mere lowly ant actually dared to mock him, an exalted Empyrean? How audacious. However, he didn't say anything in the end. Firstly, he couldn't bring himself to quarrel with a junior. The second reason was that he really didn't know what to say because what Lu Ming said was correct. If Lu Ming didn't do this, would the celestial race let him go? It was clearly impossible. Therefore, what did Lu Ming have to fear? The celestial race thinks you're high and mighty, but let me tell you, in front of me you're just dogs. Do you understand? You have to lie down obediently. Those behind, listen up. If you meet me later in the competition, lie down obediently like a dog. Otherwise you'll all end up like this. Lu Ming's voice spread in all directions. Boom, 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 anger, anger on top of anger. Almost all of the celestial race erupted with powerful auras. Even the heavenly venerables couldn't control themselves and erupted with terrifying auras. I'm so angry. Son of a bitch, you're courting death, courting death, courting death. I'm going to tear him apart. The young celestial race or the strong celestial race roared crazily and flew into a rage. They couldn't wait to pounce on Lu Ming and skin him alive. Terrifying killing intent gathered and whistled in the air, but Lu Ming didn't care at all. He and the celestial race had long been in an irreconcilable situation. Therefore he felt very comfortable to be able to anger these arrogant celestial race. He felt extremely refreshed upon seeing the enraged heavenly human tribe powerful beings. Not only him but the people on the Heaven Destroyer's side felt even more refreshed. The humiliation they had suffered before was swept away. It was as if all the pores on their bodies had opened. The way they looked at Lu Ming had changed. In their eyes, Lu Ming had become extraordinarily cute. Bang! At this time Lu Ming attacked again. He kicked out and kicked Yelu Shirkai's head. With a bang, Yelu Shirkai's head exploded and he died on the spot. Of course he wouldn't really die here. Yelu Shirkai's body turned into rays of light and flew back to the lotus, then reformed. Yelu Shirkai was resurrected. However, his aura was a bit weak and his eyes were full of fear when he looked at Lu Ming. He had developed a fear of Lu Ming and had developed an inner demon. This guy has a 12-star battle prowess. Some people among the celestial race had slowly calmed down, such as Yichu Tianji. At this moment, when Yichu Tianji looked at Lu Ming, his killing intent was incomparably cold. In the universe, there were too many people who had a 12-star battle prowess and could be compared to him. Before entering the highest immortal city, he thought that in the universe, only Yi Ling Hongye could be his opponent. He felt that there were too many people. What he wanted was to be invincible in the universe and suppress an era. Behind him, another Xian Yanqing ran out. He actually also had a 12-star battle prowess and was not weaker than him. This made him extremely furious. But now Lu Ming's battle prowess was also 12 stars. Although Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the 8th layer of the Great Supreme God realm, it was easy to break through. It wouldn't be difficult to break through given some time. At that time, Lu Ming would be in existence not weaker than him. There were too many and he couldn't stand it. He had to get rid of some of them. He was already planning how to get rid of Lu Ming after leaving the highest immortal city. It would be best if he could get rid of Xian Yanqing as well. Under the cold and murderous gazes, Lu Ming returned to the lotus. The roots of the lotus under his feet quickly grew taller and became 40 feet tall. After Lu Ming, the competition continued. There were a total of 36,000 people, which meant that there would be 18,000 battles. In the blink of an eye, another half a month had passed. During this period, Lu Ming saw Dark Knight Rose, Di Jianyi, Yin Jioling and the others easily defeating their opponents without any pressure. This time the competition took a whole month before it finally ended. In this way there was an obvious change in the height of the lotus roots. Among them, 18,000 people's lotus roots had become 40 feet tall, and the other 18,000 people's lotus roots had become 20 feet tall. Lu Ming and the others stood on the 40 feet tall lotus and looked down at the 20 feet tall lotuses. Those on the 20 feet tall lotuses had to look up at them, which stimulated many people's battle intent. Chapter 4405. I still have a chance. I will definitely fight my way up. A temporary failure is nothing. Sooner or later, I will stand at the top and look down on others. Many people on the 2 feet tall lotus swore in their hearts. Everyone wanted to stand at the top and look down on others. The lotus seemed to be able to distinguish between the nobles and the lowly ones. Those standing on the 4 feet tall lotus dared not be careless. They secretly warned themselves that they had to continue winning because once they lost, others would appear above them and look down on them. They would have to look up to others. Just the simple rise and fall of the lotus had completely ignited the battle intent in everyone's hearts. Soon, the second round of the competition began. 2 4 feet long lotus flowers flew toward the fighting ring. The first was the 4 feet tall area. Generally speaking, it was a 4 feet tall lotus flower against a 4 feet tall lotus flower. Only under special circumstances would there be a battle between lotus flowers of different heights. Hey, it's Bubbles. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He did not expect that it would be Bubbles' turn to fight in the first round of the second round. Bubbles' opponent was also a young prodigy of the heavenly human tribe. It's a space-time spirit mouse. She looks pretty good. The prodigy of the heavenly human tribe was very arrogant. He stood with his hands behind his back and looked at Bubbles indifferently. After a few words he said, "Admit defeat. I don't want to bully a woman, especially a beautiful one." He had the right to be confident because he was considered a top prodigy of the heavenly human tribe with a 10-star combat power. He was just below the 9 heavenly daughters. Although the space-time spirit mouse could control time and space and was very talented, he still did not take it seriously. "You want me to admit defeat?" Bubbles was surprised. "That's right. Hurry up and admit defeat before you embarrass yourself, the prodigy of the heavenly human tribe said. If his opponent was not a woman and was a spacetime spirit mouse, she could be considered as a member of the heavenly palace. That was why he gave her a chance. If she was a member of the Heaven Destroyer, he would have already attacked. He would not give her the slightest chance. Most of the heavenly human tribe members at the scene were also relaxed and calm. They thought that they would definitely win this competition. However, a few of the heavenly human tribe members looked a little gloomy. For example, Yichu Tianji, Yichu Chenyue and the others. They had fought with Bubble before and had seen her in action. They knew her strength very well. That was a genuine 11-star battle prowess. Moreover, it was the power of time and space which was extremely difficult to deal with. On the battle stage, the heavenly human race's prodigy actually asked Bubble to admit defeat. Wasn't this a joke? Wasn't this asking for humiliation? Yi Hanlin, admit defeat. Yichu Chenyue spoke. What? The sky pride of the heavenly human tribe on the fighting ring was called Yi Hanlin. When he heard Yi Chenyue's words, he couldn't help but feel a little confused. Not only him, but the other members of the heavenly human tribe were also dumbfounded. Yi Chenyue actually asked Yi Hanlin to admit defeat? What was going on? Is there something wrong with Chu Chenyue's head? Seeing Yi Hanlin standing there in a daze, Yi Chu Chenyue was secretly anxious. He knew that Bubbles was on Lu Ming's side. Once they made a move, Yi Hanlin might be humiliated again. Rather than being humiliated, it was better to just admit defeat. What are you standing there for? I told you to admit defeat. Hurry up and admit defeat. Yi Chenyue said. Admit defeat? That's impossible. Yi Hanlin shook his head and refused. Your Majesty, although you're an emperor, you can't ask me to admit defeat so easily. Don't worry. It's just a spacetime spirit mouse. It's just a piece of cake. You're no match for her. Yi Chenyue's face darkened. What? This time the crowd was even more shocked. What did Yi Chenyue say? Yi Hanlin was no match for Bubble? Yi Hanlin had a 10-star battle prowess. Could it be that Bubble also had a 10-star battle prowess? Or even stronger? Impossible. As far as they knew, among the emperor gods of the spacetime spirit mouse, none had a 10-star battle prowess. The strongest one only had a 9-star battle prowess. How could Yi Hanlin be no match for Bubble? Many people's first reaction was to not believe it. Yi Hanlin himself didn't believe it. Your Majesty, please believe in my strength. I'm confident in my own strength. I'll definitely win this match. As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Hanlin charged toward Bubble and launched an attack, not giving Yi Chenyue a chance to speak. This idiot! Yi Chenyue shouted angrily. At this time Bubble also made her move. Her small hands moved gently and ripples spread out in the void. They were like pieces of mirrors that pressed down on Yi Hanlin. Yi Hanlin's speed suddenly slowed down. His body seemed to have sunk into a quagmire and was met with great resistance. Heavenly Annihilation Energy, break! Yi Hanlin shouted. His Heavenly Annihilation Energy burst out and condensed into a battle saber. He slashed in all directions trying to break through the spacetime force. However, Bubble's current battle prowess had reached 12 stars. Her glabella shone as she activated the 2 origin ancient characters and pushed the spacetime force to the extreme. Although Yi Hanlin's Heavenly Annihilation Energy was powerful, it couldn't break through the spacetime force. The space that he could move in was constantly being compressed. The powerful spacetime force from all directions continued to press down on Yi Hanlin. Arg! Damn it! How is this possible? Yi Hanlin shouted as he attacked madly. He was extremely shocked. He didn't expect Bubble to be so terrifying. Her spacetime force was so powerful that even his Heavenly Annihilation Energy couldn't break through it. The Heavenly Annihilation Energy was extremely powerful. In the past, it could even destroy time and space. However, it was ineffective now. This also showed that there was no such thing as an invincible power. It depended on the user. When the quantity of a low-level power reached a certain level, it could still suppress a high-level power. Everyone else at the scene was also dumbfounded and tongue-tied. As long as they weren't fools, they could tell that Yi Hanlin was completely at a disadvantage. He was no match for Bubble. Now they finally understood why Yi Chu Chenyue asked Yi Hanlin to surrender. It was because Yi Hanlin was no match for Bubbles. Yi Chenyue was thinking for Yi Hanlin. Unfortunately, Yi Hanlin didn't believe Yi Chenyue at first. It was too late for regrets now. Crush him! Bubble shouted. She pressed her hands together and the spacetime force pressed down on Yi Hanlin. Yi Hanlin coughed out a mouthful of blood. He couldn't withstand it. Even the saber in his hand that was formed by the heavenly annihilation energy dimmed and collapsed. Immediately after, the space-time force wrapped around Yi Hanlin, preventing him from moving at all. Get lost. With a wave of his hand, Yi Hanlin's body was sent flying out of the fighting stage. Bubble didn't kill Yi Hanlin. She didn't humiliate him either, even though she wanted to. However, Bubble had her scruples. She had to be careful of the space-time spirit rats. If she went overboard, it would be disadvantageous to the space-time spirit rats. Chapter 4406. Flying out of the ring was tantamount to defeat. Yi Hanlin flew back to the Lotus, and the Lotus flew back to its original position. Its height began to decrease from 40 feet to 30 feet. Bubble, on the other hand, rose from 40 feet to 30 feet, temporarily looking down on everyone. Damn space-time spirit rats, I'll wipe out your sect, wipe out your sect. Yi Hanlin kept roaring in his heart. He was furious. Although Bubble did not deliberately humiliate him, his performance before and after was still very embarrassing. At first he was very confident. He asked Bubble to admit defeat as soon as he came up, as if he was sure to win. Later on, Yi Chu Chinua asked him to admit defeat, but he did not agree. He still thought that he had Bubble in the bag, so he decisively attacked. In the end, he was easily defeated by Bubble. The comparison between before and after was a slap in the face. Instead, it was he who deliberately gave Bubble the slap in the face. No one could stop him. Therefore, although Bubble did not deliberately humiliate him, he was still full of hatred for Bubble. If Bubble had been defeated by him, this would not have happened. Would he have lost face? However, at this time, 2 more lotus flowers flew to the ring. The competition continued. It was a duel between 40 feet tall. The winner's lotus root rose to 50 feet, while the loser's lotus root fell back to 30 feet. The competition continued one after another. Xian Yinqing, Autumn Moon, and Dandan had all competed. Their opponents were not very strong, so they defeated them easily. At the same time, Lu Ming also saw Ling Yue. She had taken a drop of the 5 elements fairy tear and had undergone a perfect evolution. Her strength was unfathomable, and she defeated her opponent easily. From time to time, she would sneak a glance at Lu Ming. However, when Lu Ming looked at her, she quickly averted her gaze, expressionless. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. He had hurt another woman's heart, but he did not do it on purpose. Xian Yinqing, Autumn Moon, and Dandan did not meet any strong opponents. The lotus root successfully rose to 50 feet tall. However, Yiling's luck was not very good. He met a strong opponent. Gabbert. Yes, coincidentally, Yiling met Gabbert in the second round. Heaven Destroyer? Very well, I'll make sure you die a horrible death. Gabbert sneered and spread his 12 golden wings. The golden holy light seemed to be boiling. Nonsense, let's do it. Yiling could not be bothered to talk nonsense with Gabbert. He immediately attacked, transforming into a beam of sword light as he charged towards Gabbert. Kill. Gabbert also shouted. Golden holy light condensed into a golden battle sword and slashed at Yilin. The 2 dazzling sword lights met in the air, and a shocking explosion burst forth. The place where the swords collided was like a sun exploding. Endless sword chi spread out in all directions, leaving fine sword marks on the fighting ring. However, these sword marks quickly disappeared. This battle platform seemed to have a self-healing function. Cracks or marks could be repaired automatically. Amidst the sword light that filled the sky, a figure retreated several hundred meters. Was Yiling. As for Gabbert, he did not move at all. In the previous exchange, Yiling was actually at a disadvantage. Even Lu Ming was surprised. Gabbert's combat strength has increased so much. Even Yiling is no match for him. A thought flashed through Lu Ming's mind. Lu Ming had met Gabbert when he had just entered the 2nd level of the Taishang Immortal City. At that time, Gabbert's combat strength was only 6 stars. Now it had reached such a terrifying level. Yiling's combat strength had reached the limit of 9 stars. Gabbert could suppress Yiling, which was enough to show that Gabbert's combat strength had reached 10 stars. This was close to the combat strength of the Heavenly Princess. It was absolutely shocking. There were not many Emperor gods in the entire universe. Great! When the angels saw this, they could not help but cheer loudly. They were very excited. Heaven Destroyer Prodigy die. Gabbert was extremely excited. He shouted and continued to attack Yiling Clang. The sound of a sword rang out from Yiling's body. He turned into a sword light and flew in another direction. He was no match for Gabbert in a head-on collision. Then he could only use a wandering method to slowly exhaust his opponent's strength. Having a higher combat strength by 1 star did not mean that he would definitely win. Those who had a lower combat strength by 1 star did not necessarily lose. Under certain circumstances, there was still a possibility of a comeback. Of course, in a head-on collision, having a higher combat strength by 1 star would definitely give him an overall advantage. Therefore, Yiling did not want to clash head-on with his opponent. If he could exhaust his opponent's strength, he would have a chance of winning. Humph, you want to use this method to deal with me? How naive. Holy light judgment, Gabbard roared. Holy light erupted, and a huge cross condensed in the sky. Lu Ming had seen it when he fought Gabbard. Gilbert trained in a single type of divine power, but he had mastered 2 types of quintessence secret arts. The Holy Light Judgment Cross was one of his origin secret techniques. However, it was pure white at that time. Now it was golden. Its power was countless times more terrifying than before. The golden cross floated in the air, emitting a dazzling holy light that enveloped every corner of the fighting ring. Then beams of light flew out from the cross of holy light. These beams of light were sharper than the sharpest sword, and they were aimed at Yiling. Although Yiling was very fast and kept flashing on the fighting ring, there were too many beams of light flying out from the holy light cross. They were densely packed and covered the entire fighting ring. It was difficult to count. Yiling could not avoid all of them. He could only block with his sword. Clang, clang, clang. The sound of swords clashing rang out continuously. In the blink of an eye there were dozens of clashes. After dozens of clashes, the sword light that Yiling had transformed into suddenly trembled and collapsed. His body emerged and retreated rapidly. There was a bloody hole in his chest. It was clear that he had been pierced by the beams of the holy light cross. Die! Gabbard shouted and continued to control the holy light cross. More beams of light blasted towards Yiling. Yiling did not hesitate. He turned around and rushed out of the fighting ring. He was giving up the battle and admitting defeat. You must die once. Gabbard shouted coldly. His eyes flashed with cold killing intent. He would not let Yiling escape from the fighting ring so easily. This time he wanted to make a name for himself and catch the attention of the important people in the Heavenly Palace. From then on he would become the core of the Heavenly Palace. This was his goal. Every one of his opponents would become his stepping stones, especially Yiling, a prodigy from the Heaven Exterminating Troop. A blood-red sword appeared between his eyebrows. This was Gabbard's second origin secret technique, Holy Light Sanction. Swoosh. The blood-red sword light pierced towards Yiling. Chapter 4407. Holy Light Sanction was Gabbard's second origin secret technique. It was even more powerful than the first origin secret technique. The Sanction longsword was blood-red. It blended in with the light beam and pierced toward Yiling's forehead at an alarming speed. Yiling was already injured. Furthermore, he had to focus on defending against the Holy Light Cross. He could not dodge the Sanction longsword. The longsword pierced through Yiling's forehead and killed Lu Ming. Luckily, this was the area covered by the Taishang Immortal City. With the protection of the special lotus, he could revive. Yiling quickly revived on the lotus. However, he looked pale and his breath was weak. Gabbard did not even look at Yiling. Instead, he held the Sanction longsword and pointed it at Lu Ming. He said in a cold voice, "Lu Ming, it will be your turn soon." "That's what I wanted to say to you." Lu Ming replied coldly. Gabbard chuckled. He took a step forward and returned to the lotus. His refined rhizome had grown to 15 meters tall. The competition continued. After a while, it was finally Lu Ming's turn. However, this time Lu Ming's opponent was very weak. He was not from the heavenly human tribe but from another large tribe. His opponent was a strong man. He was a 9th-level godly god with a 5-star battle power. This kind of ability was considered top-notch among the god thearchs in the universe. However, compared to someone like Lu Ming, the difference was too great. Facing Lu Ming, this person did not dare to fight and immediately admitted defeat. Lu Ming won easily. The lotus roots under Lu Ming's feet had also reached 5 feet. Only a few of the later matches piqued Lu Ming's interest. These matches were between top-notch geniuses. One of them was Di Jianyi. Di Jianyi was up against a top-notch genius on the Universe Prodigy list. This genius was ranked 15th on the Universe Prodigy list. Without a doubt, he was a top-notch genius with a 9-star battle power. However, when he was up against Di Jianyi, he was instantly killed by Di Jianyi. Yes, It had only taken one sword strike to kill an absolute genius ranked 15th on the universe genius list. At the same time that they were shocked, they also firmly remembered Di Jianyi in their hearts. Di Jianyi, no one had heard of this name before and no one had seen him before. However, when he attacked, he was extremely stunning. He definitely had the qualifications to compete for the last 130 places. This also made it clear that this time, in addition to the geniuses on the surface, there were also many dark horses. After the 4 Jiangtal competition, it was time for the 2 Jiangtal competition. The second round of the competition also required 18,000 matches, and it also took more than a month to finish all of them. After the competition this time, there were many changes to the scene. There were more areas of different heights. It was mainly divided into 3 areas. There were 9,000 people with lotus roots that reached 15 meters. None of them were 4 zhang tall. Those whose lotus roots were 10 meters long were the most numerous, numbering 18,000 people. He didn't have any with a height of 20 feet. He had 9,000 people with a height of 10 feet. In the first 2 rounds of the competition, no one was really eliminated. However, from the 3rd round onwards, there would be people eliminated. In the 9 Jiangtal area, half of the living beings were destined to be eliminated. This made the people in the 10 Jiangtal area have a strong fighting spirit, revealing the determination to fight to the death. Especially those who thought that they were talented but had bad luck in the first 2 rounds, they were even more eager to fight and were ready to fight. Very quickly the 3rd round began. This round actually started from the 10 Jiangtal area. In the 10 Jiangtal area, 2 lotuses flew to the fighting ring and the 3rd round of the competition began. However, Lu Ming wasn't interested in watching. There weren't any strong experts in the 10 Jiangtal area. Even if there were people with bad luck, it was very rare for them to encounter strong opponents for 2 consecutive rounds. There weren't many people who could attract Lu Ming's attention. Lu Ming sat cross-legged on the lotus, closed his eyes and calmed his mind to comprehend the secret technique, hoping to comprehend a second secret technique that belonged to him. He could imagine that if he wanted to break through from the God Emperor realm to the Divine Lord realm, he would have to comprehend his own secret technique. Moreover, it would have to be a stronger secret technique to break through the bottleneck and break through to the Divine Lord realm. He didn't want to waste any time. 7 or 8 days later, the competition in the 10 Jiangtal area ended. Among them, 4,500 people failed. The lotus roots completely disappeared, which meant that they were completely defeated. Although the people who were killed were resurrected, they were also sent out of the light barrier to stay with the spectators. The other 4,500 people were raised to 20 feet tall. Then it was the 3 Jiangtal area's turn. Lu Ming still didn't open his eyes to watch the competition, continuing to comprehend. There were 18,000 people in the 3 Jiangtal area. It took more than half a month for the competition to end. 9,000 people were raised to the 4 Jiangtal area, and the other 9,000 were lowered to the 2 Jiangtal area. Finally, it was the 5 Jiangtal area's turn. At this time, Lu Ming opened his eyes and began to observe. Although he had enough confidence now, he couldn't let his guard down. He wanted to see if there were any hidden experts who could pose a threat to him. The competition was carried out one after another. In this round, Autumn Moon and Dandan both met powerful opponents. Among them, Autumn Moon's opponent was a top-notch genius who had a 10-star battle prowess. He was also from the Heavenly Human Tribe. But this time, Yi Chu Chenhua directly asked the Heavenly Human Tribe genius to admit defeat. Although the Heavenly Human Tribe's elite was extremely reluctant, he still admitted defeat after what had happened to Bubble previously. This was shocking. Could it be that Autumn Moon was as powerful as Bubble? Many people remembered Autumn Moon's performance in their hearts. Dandan's opponent was a burly man who had a 9-star battle prowess. He was easily defeated by Dandan. There were also some very powerful people in the prime of their lives. Among them there were also top-notch geniuses. Of course, some of the top-notch geniuses in the prime of their lives had already stepped into the Divine Master realm. However, there were also some geniuses who suppressed their cultivation and didn't break through. Or because of various reasons they couldn't break through. This kind of person also had terrifying battle prowess. After all, they had been cultivating for too long. Some of them had been cultivating for almost a star year. Therefore, Lu Ming wouldn't underestimate the prime of their lives. After this battle, Autumn Moon and Dandan successfully entered the eyes of everyone and were remembered. They were also regarded as existences who could almost enter the top 130. In this round, Xian Yanqing and Ling Yue didn't meet any strong opponents and successfully advanced. The lotus root rose to 6 Jiangtal. Lu Ming's luck seemed to be very good. The opponent he met in this round wasn't strong. He easily defeated his opponent and won. In this round, the one who attracted Lu Ming's interest was Dark Knight Rose. She met an opponent with a 10-star battle prowess. This was a top-notch genius who was on the Heaven Destroyer's side. He was even more famous than Yi Ling. However, he was easily defeated by Dark Knight Rose. Chapter 4408. Dark Knight Rose easily defeated a prodigy with a 10-star battle power, which attracted everyone's attention and discussion. Even the Son of Heaven and Daughter of Heaven revealed shocked and grave expressions. The important figures of the Heavenly Palace who were watching the battle also looked at Dark Knight Rose. To be able to defeat a prodigy with a 10-star battle power so easily, one could imagine how terrifying her own battle power was. It was very likely that she had an 11-star battle power. One had to know that most of the sons and daughters of heaven only had an 11-star battle power. This battle power was comparable to that of the sons and daughters of heaven. There was a bubble that appeared before, which was obviously an 11-star battle power. Then there was an autumn moon. Yichu Qianyue directly asked a heavenly human prodigy with a 10-star battle power to admit defeat. It was suspected that he had an 11-star battle power. Including Dark Knight Rose now there were 3 of them. What was going on? Was the world going to change? In the past, the sons and daughters of heaven who had an 11-star battle power were undoubtedly the dominators of their peers. It was difficult to find anyone who could match them in the entire universe. But now there were 3 of them. Who knew how many of them had not used their full strength and were still hiding their strength? For example, Dandan and Di Jianyi had both easily defeated 9-star battle power existences. It was hard to guess how strong they were. In addition, it was unknown whether Gabbert's battle power had reached its limit. This was unimaginable in the past. Many heavenly human prodigies' faces were particularly gloomy. This was not a good sign for the heavenly human tribe. The prodigies of the various races and factions were too powerful. They were comparable to the sons and daughters of heaven. In other words, when this group of prodigies grew to the peak, this group of heavenly human prodigies would not be able to suppress everyone. They would have opponents. This would seriously threaten the rule of the heavenly human tribe. If this was the case for every generation, sooner or later, there would be a force that could rival the heavenly palace. No, the heavenly palace or the heavenly human tribe would never allow such a thing to happen. Unless it could be used by them. Some divine masters and even heavenly venerables of the heavenly human tribe glanced at the top prodigies and memorized them. No one knew what they were thinking. The third round also took more than a month to complete. After this round, the number of people had decreased by 4,500. The total number of people was only 31,500. These 31,500 people were mainly divided into 3 regions. In the area where the lotus roots were 6 zhang tall, there were 4,500 people. The number of people with lotus roots that were 4 zhang tall was 13,500. There were also 13,500 people with lotus roots that were 20 feet tall. The gap between them was getting bigger and bigger. There were 3 zones and each zone had a height difference of 20 feet. Then the third round began. This round started from the 20 feet area. By the time the competition was over, 6,750 people had descended to a height of 10 feet. Another 6,750 people rose to a height of 10 meters. Then the competition began in the 40 zhang zone. After the competition ended, 6,750 people went down to the 30 zhang zone. In this way, the total number of people in the 3 zhang zone had reached 13,500. The remaining 6,750 people had leveled up to the 5 zhang zone. After the 4 zhang zone ended, it was time for the 6 zhang zone, which was where Lu Ming was. This time, Lu Ming's opponent was still not strong. Without any pressure he won. This time, Xian Yanqing met a powerful prodigy with 10 stars. He was ranked in the top 10 on the universe prodigy list. This person was naturally not Xian Yanqing's opponent and was defeated by Xian Yanqing. This caused an uproar among the crowd. They were all shocked beyond words. There was one more person who could be compared to the heavenly princess. Yichu Qianyue. A few people were less shocked because they knew Xian Yanqing's strength. Especially Yichu Qianyue, who had fought with Xian Yanqing before and knew how terrifying Xian Yanqing was. As for Lu Ming's acquaintances, Dark Knight Rose, Di Jianyi, Yin Jioling and others, they did not meet any strong opponents. They all successfully leveled up their lotus roots by 10 feet to 20 feet. After this round, according to the height, there were a total of 4 zones. There were 2,250 people in the 20-foot zone. There were 9,000 people in the 50-foot zone. There were 13,500 people in the 30-foot zone. There were 6,750 people in the 10-foot zone. The 4 zones were divided into 4 grades. Lu Ming and the others were in the 70-foot zone, which naturally belonged to the first grade and also the strongest grade. Yi Ling and the others were in the 50-foot zone, which belonged to the second grade. The 30-foot zone belonged to the third grade. The 10-foot zone belonged to the fourth grade. Following that, there would be more and more grades and the gap would become bigger and bigger. Soon the 5th round began. In this round, another 3,375 people in the 10-foot zone were eliminated. Then it was the 30-foot zone and then the 50-foot zone. In this round, Lu Ming still did not meet a strong opponent and still defeated his opponent easily. In this round, there were people who were not very famous such as Ling Yuwei and Yin Jiuling who had defeated strong opponents. After this round, there were still 4 grades. However, there was a big change in the number of people. Lu Ming and the others were in the first grade, and there were only 1,125 people left. The second grade had 5,625 people. Then the 6th round began. As the competition continued, there were more and more rounds and there were more and more grades. However, there was basically no point in competing for those at the back. It was impossible for those with real strength to be so unlucky and lose all the time. It was almost impossible for those at the back to compete for the first 130 places. Only those at the first 2 grades could compete for the first 130 places. For example, Yi Ling, Bubbles, or the 10-star prodigies from Autumn Moon, they were all in the second grade and had a high chance of competing for the 130 places. Not many people paid attention to those at the back. Of course, according to the rules, the competition still had to continue. It was just that some people had lost their fighting spirit and some people still hoped to climb up. The competition went round after round. Of course, in the later rounds there would be odd numbers. For example, from the 6th round onwards, there were odd numbers in the first and second grades. In this case, the odd number in the second grade would challenge the odd number in the first grade. If the challenge was won, the person in the second grade would successfully be promoted to the first grade. Just like that, round after round went on. Lu Ming's luck suddenly exploded. Since the first round, when he met the 9-star heavenly human, he had not met a strong opponent. The lotus root rose all the way. Chapter 4409. 80 feet, 90 feet, 100 feet. The number of people in the first 2 levels was decreasing. The number of people in the first level went from 1,125 to 562, then to 281. The number of people in the second level was decreasing as well. When the number of people in the first level was reduced to 70, the old voice sounded again. At this point, the rules of the competition need to be changed. I now announce that the 70 people in the first level will all enter the 130 spots and obtain the opportunity to connect to the Universe C. The remaining 60 people will be selected from the second level. The second level will be a tag team battle. The 60 people with the best battle records will also be selected. After the 130 spots are selected, the specific ranking battle will begin. As for the rest, they will all be eliminated. The old voice announced a series of new rules. Then, starting from the 3rd level, everyone was sent out by a force. Obviously, these people had been eliminated. However, these people did not have any objections. They just sighed. This was because they already knew that it would be difficult for them to rush up and enter the top 130 spots. Then, the second level began the tag team battle. Everyone had to fight with others and then see their battle records. The person with the best battle record would enter the top 130 spots. Fierce battles broke out. This tag team battle went on for more than a month. In the end, 60 people stood out and entered the top 130 spots. These 60 people were the best of the best. Many of them had a 10-star battle power. In fact, most of the 70 people in the first level had a 10-star battle power. In the entire universe, there were many who had a 10-star battle power. For example, the top 10 on the Universe Prodigy list almost all had a 10-star battle power. On the Heaven Destroyer side, there were more than a dozen who had a 10-star battle power. Of course, the Celestial race had the most. There were at least 60 or 70 people with a 10-star battle power. In addition to Dark Knight Rose and the others, there were close to 100 people with a 10-star battle power. These people with a 10-star battle power were almost all guaranteed to enter the top 130 spots. In other words, those with a 10-star battle power and below could only compete for about 30 spots. One could imagine how fierce the competition was. Yi Ling had a 9-star battle power. In the end, after fierce battles, he finally succeeded in entering the top 130 spots. This way, the 130 people who were qualified to connect to Universe Ocean and comprehend the Seed of Origin were all selected. However, the competition wasn't over yet. This was because when connecting to Universe Ocean, the location was also very important. Different locations had different effects of connecting to Universe Ocean, and there were both good and bad effects. Some positions would be more effective while others would be less effective. These positions all needed to be competed for. 130 slots, divided into 5 different ranks. The higher the level of the position, the better the effect of connecting to Universe Ocean, and the faster the speed of comprehending the Seed of Origin, the higher the probability of condensing the Seed of Origin, and the bigger the Seed of Origin. Among them, there is only one spot for the first level, and it will be taken by the strongest person. There are 3 spots for the second level, which will be taken by the 2nd to 4th place. There are 9 spots for the 3rd level, which will be taken by the 5th to 13th place. There are 36 slots for the 4th level. There are 81 slots for the 5th level. The old voice gave a detailed introduction. There were exactly 130 slots for the 5 ranks. Many people's eyes lit up, and there was a greedy gleam in their eyes. There were 5 ranks and they all wanted to rush to a higher rank. They didn't dare to hope for 1st place or the 2nd level, but they could hope for the 3rd and 4th levels. Among the 130 people, no one wanted the 5th level. This was because the 5th level had already been decided. No matter what, they could get it. Naturally, they wouldn't think about the 5th level and they all wanted a higher level. It didn't mean that one of the 130 slots would be able to comprehend the Seed of Origin. No, it wasn't that easy. That was the origin, which could only be comprehended by those in the origin realm. How difficult was that? Even if it was just the Seed of Origin, the difficulty was very high. It wasn't as if one could comprehend the Seed of Origin with just one slot. Some people still couldn't comprehend the Seed of Origin. However, the higher the level of the position, the better the effect, and the higher the probability of comprehending the Seed of Origin. Even if the Seed of Origin was comprehended, there were differences in quality and size. Therefore, the higher the position, the better. For example, Yi Chu Tianji and Yi Ling Hongya's eyes shone brilliantly. Their goal was to be 1st place. For the heavenly daughters like Yi Chu Qianyue, their goal was to be in the 2nd level, the 3 slots. Everyone had their own goal. However, Lu Ming only had one goal. 1st place. Bus. At this moment, the huge battle platform shook. Lines appeared on the surface of the battle platform. No, they were cracks. These cracks divided the battle platform into 7 pieces. Crack, crack. The battle platform split into 7 pieces along the cracks and flew in all directions. They floated in the air and began to expand. In the end, 7 battle platforms appeared in the air. Next, the 130 people will be divided into 7 groups. There will be 4 groups of 19 people and 3 groups of 18 people. You will take turns to fight against others on the battle platform. The 7 people with the best results on each battle platform will advance to the top 49. The old voice sounded again, explaining the rules of the competition. The top 49 happened to be in the first 4 levels. In other words, if they could win this round, they could at least enter the first 4 levels and surpass the 5th level. As soon as the old voice sounded, the lotuses under everyone's feet began to move. Lu Ming flew to the battle platform in the middle. There were 19 people and 19 lotuses surrounding the battle platform. The other 6 battle platforms were about the same. There were either 19 or 18 people surrounding their respective battle platforms, separated by a distance of 100 miles. The 19 people on the middle battle platform immediately sized each other up. Because they were all opponents, they had to fight one by one. Yue Gabbert and Yi Chu Qianyue. What a coincidence. Lu Ming's eyes flashed as he saw a few familiar faces. Ling Yue Gabbert and Yi Chu Qianyue were all on this battle platform. Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon, and Wan Shen were on other battle platforms. Chapter 44:10. Fortunately, Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon, Wan Shen, Dandan, and Bubbles were not on the same stage. Haha, Lu Ming, your luck is not very good. We are finally going to meet. This time, I will make you very miserable. Gabbert laughed and stared at Lu Ming. His eyes were cold and filled with cold-killing intent. When he thought of the pain of losing his wings last time, his hatred for Lu Ming was about to explode. Last time he had lost his wings and escaped. He was seriously injured and his vitality was greatly damaged. If he had not encountered a great opportunity later, his talent would have been reduced. He was always thinking about revenge and making Lu Ming suffer a fate worse than death. Now he and Lu Ming were finally on the same stage. His chance had finally come. Everyone in the fighting ring had to exchange blows with each other. He and Lu Ming would have to face each other sooner or later. His chance for revenge had come. Last time you broke your wings and escaped. This time I will break your wings with my own hands. Lu Ming said. His voice was indifferent and full of contempt. This made Gabert's eyes even colder. Yi Chu Qinyua's eyes were also cold. Lu Ming, there are a lot of people who want to kill you. It seems that you will die several times in this round of battle. Yi Chu Qinyua said. His meaning was obvious. Gabert would kill him once and he would also kill Lu Ming once. You are all very confident. I look forward to you being able to maintain this confidence until the end. Lu Ming said with a smile. Don't worry, you will see. Yi Chu Qinyua said. As for Ling Yue, she did not speak from beginning to end. Occasionally she would look at Lu Ming with a complicated expression. The other stages were similar. They were all sizing each other up. In particular, the Heaven Destroyer and the Heavenly Human Tribe cultivators were exchanging insults with each other. The battle hadn't even begun, and there was already a strong scent of gunpowder in the air. The spectators outside were also discussing, guessing who would be able to enter the top 49, the top 13, and the top 4. However, no one was optimistic about Lu Ming. This was because Lu Ming's cultivation was too low. Even though Lu Ming's fighting strength was terrifying, he had the strength of 12 stars, but he only had the strength of the 8th Great Supreme God layer. Even though Lu Ming had 12-star fighting strength, he was only as strong as a cultivator of the 9th Great Supreme God layer. With such combat strength, being able to enter 130 places was already considered lucky. There was a great element of luck involved. One had to know that among these 130 people, there were close to 100 people who possessed 10-star battle prowess. The other 30 or so people possessed 9-star battle prowess. In fact, there were at least several hundred people who possessed 9-star battle prowess. Only 30 out of hundreds of people had entered 130 places. Apart from strength, there was also a certain element of luck involved. Therefore, most people thought that Lu Ming would stop there. It was impossible for him to enter the top 49. Begin. The old voice sounded again. Afterward, 2 lotus flowers flew toward the fighting ring where Lu Ming and the rest were. One of them was Lu Ming. Coincidentally, the other person was Gabert. Even Lu Ming himself was a little surprised. Although he knew that he would meet Gabert sooner or later, he didn't expect to meet him in the first round. Ha, Lu Ming, it seems like God is helping me. Gabert laughed and landed on the stage. Is that so? Are you sure God is helping you? Lu Ming revealed a mocking smile and stepped onto the fighting ring. Lu Ming, you're very confident. I hope you won't admit defeat. Gabert said. Don't worry. There's no such thing as admitting defeat in my eyes. Lu Ming replied indifferently. Very well. Gabert showed a ferocious look. As soon as he finished his word, he rushed towards Lu Ming. On his back, 12 angel wings emitted a dazzling golden light. The golden holy light boiled and turned into 2 golden holy light swords, slashing towards Lu Ming's shoulders. He wanted to cut off Lu Ming's arms to avenge his broken wings. However, before his sword gleam could hit him, Lu Ming moved and disappeared from his original spot. He appeared on the other side of the fighting ring. His speed was so fast that he dodged Gabert's attack perfectly. Gabert, use all your strength. Even if you lose, I'll make you admit defeat. Lu Ming said lightly. There was a strong sense of contempt in his voice. Gabert's anger surged. The golden holy light burned like a golden flame. Holy light judgment, holy light sanction, Gabert roared. A golden cross appeared above his body. In addition, there was a blood-red longsword. At this moment, Gabert unleashed his combat strength to its peak. He used 2 origin source secret techniques at the same time. 10-star combat strength. When Gilbert pushed his battle prowess to its peak, he had completely stepped into the 10-star level. Previously, he had used this move to kill Yi Ling in one fell swoop. Lu Ming, I'm going to blast you to smithereens with one move. Gabert roared. The golden holy light cross pressed down on Lu Ming. Thousands of light beams pierced towards Lu Ming like sharp swords. At the same time, the blood-red sanction longsword was launched. It was mixed in with the thousands of light beams and pierced towards Lu Ming's forehead. The 2 origin source secret techniques complemented each other perfectly. It was very dangerous. However, Lu Ming's expression was normal. He allowed the two attacks to approach him. When the two attacks were only 10 meters away from him, Lu Ming made his move. Boom. His body erupted like a volcano, releasing a terrifying aura. Then Lu Ming threw out a punch. The violent energy was like an avalanche as it blasted forward. Wherever the fist energy passed, the holy light beams were all destroyed. Finally, the fist energy hit the Sanction longsword. The Sanction longsword shook violently and was shattered. The fist force didn't stop there. It continued to bombard the golden cross of holy light, causing it to explode. With one punch, all of Gabbert's attacks were destroyed. Gabbert's body shook violently. He retreated and coughed up blood. 9th level Divine God. Gilbert let out a roar of disbelief and shock. Indeed, a moment ago, Lu Ming had revealed his cultivation base of the 9th level Divine God layer. In an instant, his strength had increased tremendously. Gabbert could not resist at all. He had been severely injured in one move. What? 9th level Divine God layer? How is that possible? I just observed carefully. Lu Ming's cultivation base is only of the 8th level Divine God layer. He must have used some special method to hide his aura. How terrifying. Lu Ming's cultivation base is of the 9th level Divine God layer. Then, with his fighting strength of 12 stars. At the thought of this, many people sucked in cold breaths of air, revealing deep shock. 9th level Divine God layer, 12 stars of fighting strength, how terrifying was that? Who could defeat him? Chapter 44:11. A 9th level Emperor God with 12 stars of fighting strength. That was terrifying. It was said that there were such people in the heavenly human tribe, but they were rare. Lu Ming had reached such a level? How is this possible? Around the fighting ring, Yi Chu Qinyua's body shook violently. His eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. Such battle prowess was already above his. He found it hard to accept. Because he had acted high and mighty in front of Lu Ming, as if he could defeat Lu Ming. He had even said that he would kill Lu Ming. But now, Lu Ming's fighting strength was not something he could deal with. How was he going to face Lu Ming in the future? For a moment, Yi Chu Qinyua's mind was in a mess. Buzz. Around the other fighting ring, the long sword behind Di Jinny's back buzzed. The sword chime reverberated through the sky. His eyes were filled with strong fighting spirit. Both he and Lu Ming had come from the small Kiliacosm. They had come from a small place in the primitive universe. Di Jinny had always wanted to defeat Lu Ming and prove that he was the first person to come from the small Kiliacosm. But when he saw Lu Ming's current fighting strength, he felt great pressure. Interesting. No wonder I think highly of him. It's a pity. Dark Knight Rose's eyes shone with a strange light. Amazing. Ah. As for Wan Xin, he clapped and laughed. He was close to Lu Ming. The stronger Lu Ming was, the happier he was. Lu Ming did not care about what the people around him thought. At this moment, he had disappeared from where he was and pounced on Gabbert. Fast, too fast. It was so fast that Gabbert could not dodge it. Get out of my way. Gabbert roared. His 12 wings emitted dazzling holy light and turned into 12 golden battle swords. They slashed at Lu Ming. This attack was very powerful. Gabbert had gone all out and burned his divine power. However, Lu Ming's fighting strength had reached 12 stars. His fighting strength was 2 stars higher than Gabbert's. 2-star battle prowess was much stronger. It was not something that could be equalized by risking one's life. Lu Ming's fingers formed a claw and grabbed down. His 5 fingers were like 5 spears, incomparably sharp. The claw caught the 12 golden swords. With a clang, the 12 golden swords exploded like rotten wood. The 12 golden battle swords exploded one after another. In the blink of an eye, all 12 golden battle swords had exploded. Lu Ming's claws had already grasped Gabbert's golden wings. I've said it before, I'll personally break your wings, Lu Ming's cold voice sounded. No, Gabbert roared. However, Lu Ming had already made his move and tore with all his might. Blood splattered everywhere as golden feathers fluttered in the air. Gabbert's 2 golden wings had been forcibly torn off by Lu Ming. Gabbert screamed. His long hair fluttered in the wind. His aura was rapidly weakening. Wings were the most important part of the angel race. It was also where the angel race's talent and potential condensed. For the angel race, the more wings they had, the stronger their talent and potential. If one's wings were broken, it meant that one's talent and potential were broken. Not only would one's cultivation rapidly weaken, but one's potential would also weaken. The last time Gabbard broke his wings to escape, he was forced to do so. If he didn't escape, he would be killed by Lu Ming. Hence, he could only break his wings to escape. At that time, his vitality was greatly damaged. If he hadn't encountered a heaven-defying opportunity, he wouldn't have been able to recover at all. This time, his wings were broken again. Moreover, they weren't broken by himself. They were broken by Lu Ming. Last time, he encountered a good opportunity and recovered. Would there be such a good opportunity in the future? It was difficult. A heaven-defying opportunity could only be encountered by chance. Even though one could recover if one was killed on the lotus, one's potential that was severed could not be recovered. He was filled with hatred. He roared and stared at Lu Ming. Lu Ming, you deserve to die. You deserve to die. Sooner or later, I will take my revenge 10 times or 100 times. Gabbard kept roaring as if he had gone mad. Damn it! Among the spectators outside there were also experts from the angel race. At this time they were also roaring. Gabbard was an existence who had awakened the Angel King bloodline. Such a bloodline was too rare. In the history of the angel race, there were only a few people who could achieve it. As long as Gabbard grew to the peak in the future, there would be one more overlord in the universe. His strength would be unparalleled. The strength of the angel race would definitely be stronger. They might even be able to suppress the other 8 races of the top 10 seeds. But now, Gabbard's wings were broken. His talent and potential were weakening. This was a huge loss for the angel race. They were heartbroken. Naturally, their hatred for Lu Ming was monstrous. Why are you screaming? I'm not done yet. Lu Ming said indifferently. He immediately grabbed Gabbard's second pair of wings with both hands. Gabbard's scream stopped abruptly. His eyes were filled with fear. Lu Ming wanted to break his other wings. Breaking one pair of wings had already caused irreparable damage to him. Breaking the second pair of wings would cause even greater damage to him. No, 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 Gabbard screamed in horror. However, Lu Ming didn't show any mercy. On the other hand, if he fell into Gabbard's hands, Gabbard would definitely deal with him 10 times or 100 times more ruthless. There was no need to show mercy or sympathy to the enemy. Lu Ming tore Gabbard's second pair of wings with force. Gabbard was like a deflated balloon. His aura quickly weakened and the light in his eyes dimmed. No, don't I, Gabbard screamed in agony. He wanted to admit defeat. However, how could Lu Ming let him admit defeat so easily? A powerful force surged over and completely controlled Gabbard. Gabbard couldn't utter a single word. Gabbard struggled with all his might. There was only fear in his eyes. Lu Ming's claws were already grabbing Gabbard's third pair of wings. Stop it. Stop it. Are you declaring war on the angel race? I swear if you continue to attack, the angel race will not rest until you are dead. A few divine lords of the angel race shouted. Their eyes were red. If Lu Ming continued to break Gabbard's wings, Gabbard's Angel King bloodline would really be crippled. Not rest until you are dead? I'm so scared. Lu Ming mocked, but his hands didn't stop. He tore off Gabbard's third pair of wings. Gabbard's aura became even weaker. He collapsed to the ground. However, Lu Ming still didn't stop. He reached for Gabbard's fourth pair of wings. Although he couldn't kill Gabbard here, he could cripple him. Lu Ming didn't have the habit of leaving his enemies alive. Blat, blat, blat. Lu Ming continued to attack, tearing off Gabbard's last 3 pairs of wings. Gabbard's aura was extremely weak. He was completely crippled. Chapter 44:12. After breaking all of Gabbard's wings, Lu Ming kicked Gabbard's head and killed him. In the next moment, Gabbard came back to life on the lotus. However, his aura was extremely weak and his eyes were dim. There was only fear and deep hatred for Lu Ming. His 6 pairs of wings were all torn apart. It was too much damage to him. Even if he could recover and regain his previous talent, he would be lucky. Now that he had the Angel King bloodline, he could forget about it. Lu Ming, Lu Ming, Lu Ming, Gabbard kept growling. His hatred for Lu Ming was monstrous. However, Lu Ming didn't even look at him. He returned to the lotus and looked at the other battles in the distance. This guy. At this moment, Yi Chu Qinyua's heart was trembling. When he looked at Lu Ming, there was a hint of fear in his eyes. Yes, he was a little scared. He was afraid that he would end up like Gabbard if he fought with Lu Ming. His heart was in a mess. The battle continued. After Lu Ming left the fighting ring, 2 more lotuses flew toward the fighting ring. This time, It was a genius with a 10-star combat strength against a young man with a 9-star combat strength. There wasn't much suspense in this battle. The difference of 1 star of battle power was also a huge gap. Although there was a difference of 1 star of battle power, it was not impossible to make a comeback. However, there were very few people who could make a comeback. It was very difficult to turn the tables when one's combat strength was lower than the others by 1 star, unless their attributes were mutually restrained and they had a secret technique to restrain their opponent. In less than 10 moves, the 9-star combatant was defeated. In fact, there were only 4 9-star combatants in Lu Ming's fighting ring. After all, there were only about 30 9-star combatants in total. They were divided among the 7 fighting rings. There were about 4 or 5 9-star combatants in each ring. The rest of the combatants were all 10-star combatants. Could be said that every battle was a battle between the best. The battles on each battle platform were very exciting. The competition continued one after another. If there was a great disparity in strength, such as the difference in star-level combat power, the victor would be decided very quickly. However, if they had the same star-level combat power, they would usually have to go through a fierce battle to determine the winner. Most of the time, those with a combat strength of 10 stars would run into each other. After all, there were very few who had a combat strength of 11 stars. Not long after, Ling Yuwei went on stage. Her opponent was a brawny man with 10 stars of battle prowess from the celestial race. This time, Ling Yuwei displayed an astonishing battle prowess. A holy elven tree appeared and took root in the void. It was as if it had merged with Ling Yuwei, and a huge amount of essence energy surged into Ling Yuwei's body. Ling Yuwei drew her bow and shot an arrow. With merely a single arrow, that heavenly human clan's robust man was killed. The path of archery didn't have so many complicated tricks. What it had was an incomparably terrifying attack power. Once they made a move, life and death would be determined in an instant. This arrow shocked everyone present. Even the heavenly venerables were alarmed. This was because the power of this arrow had completely reached 11 stars. Another peerless genius with a combat strength of 11 stars had appeared. Many people's hearts were unable to calm down. This time it was really too crazy. Terrifying geniuses kept surging out, causing the people of the celestial race to feel immense pressure. The faces of the people of the celestial race were somewhat gloomy. At the scene there were also some people from the elf clan. When they saw this scene they were all ecstatic. This was the elf princess, their princess. The elf princess was so powerful. When her cultivation reached the peak in the future, she would definitely be able to lead the elf clan to become more and more powerful. In the future, perhaps they could squeeze into the top 10 and become one of the top 10 races? How could they not be happy and excited? The hearts of the elf clan were filled with anticipation. Then it was Yi Chu Qianyue's turn. When Yi Chu Qianyue's opponent saw that it was Yi Chu Qianyue, a son of heaven, he directly admitted defeat. Soon, this round of the competition was over. The second round began, and it was Lu Ming's turn to go on stage again. This time, Lu Ming's opponent was a young man with a 9-star combat strength. When he saw Lu Ming, he admitted defeat very straightforwardly. Lu Ming had a 12-star combat strength. There was no need for him to fight at all. Rather than being killed and losing his essence energy, he might as well save his strength to deal with others. Lu Ming easily won 2 consecutive victories. Lu Ming was not interested in the competition behind Lu Ming's battle platform. This was because Lu Ming already had an idea of who was the strongest. On this battle platform, the strongest should be him, Ling Yuwei, and Yi Chu Qianyue. The others only had a 10-star combat strength. Lu Ming did not take it to heart. It was worth mentioning that Gabbert's wings had been broken, and his combat strength had been greatly reduced. He had become the weakest person on this battle platform. After that, he went on stage once and was easily defeated. At the end of this round, Ling Yuwei and Yi Chu Qianyue had also won. Then the third round began. In this round, Lu Ming met an existence with a 10-star combat strength. The other party also admitted defeat very straightforwardly. Lu Ming easily won 3 consecutive victories. However, at this time, the battle on another battle platform attracted Lu Ming's attention. In fact, it also attracted the attention of others. This was because a pinnacle battle had unfolded there. Di Jinni was facing a son of heaven. That son of heaven had a combat strength of 11 stars, but Di Jinni also erupted with a shocking combat strength that had reached 11 stars. The two of them fought crazily and fought fiercely. After a few hundred moves, there was still no victor. This shocked everyone present. This was because another peerless monster had appeared, an existence comparable to the son of heaven. This was another peerless genius comparable to the Son of Heaven after Bubbles, Autumn Moon, Dandan, Ling Yue, Dark Knight Rose, and Lu Ming. This level of genius was originally very rare, but now, one by one, they appeared like bamboo shoots after the rain. It was truly shocking. The key point was this still all? Probably not. Perhaps some people had yet to meet an opponent who could use their full strength and had yet to display their full strength. Some people were already numb. In the end, Di Jiani and that Son of Heaven exchanged more than 500 moves, but there was no victor. Then that old voice sounded, judging the two of them to be tied. This was the first battle between the Son of Heaven and Daughter of Heaven. And later, the number of battles of this level slowly increased. For example, Bubbles also met a Daughter of Heaven. The two of them exchanged more than 200 moves. In the end, Bubbles relied on the profoundness of the spacetime power to slightly win. In a battle of the same level, the Daughter of Heaven was actually defeated. This made the faces of the heavenly human race extremely ugly. Later on, Dandan also met an opponent. However, his opponent was extremely terrifying. His combat strength had reached the limit of 11 stars. Even among the Son of Heaven and Daughter of Heaven, he was an extremely strong existence. After a great battle, Dandan was finally defeated with a weak disadvantage. Chapter 44:13. After some time, Xian Yinqing finally met a Son of Heaven. There were a total of 9 heavenly daughters in the 4 heavenly palace, and there were only 7 battle platforms. In other words, there would be at least 1 heavenly daughter on each battle platform. Sooner or later they would encounter each other again. This battle caused a huge commotion. Everyone was stunned, including those in the Origin realm. This was because Xian Yinqing had defeated the Son of Heaven in an unstoppable manner. It was too shocking. It was too unbelievable. Who in the world could defeat a Son of Heaven in an unstoppable manner? In the past, it was rumored that only the top figures among the heavenly daughters could do so, but now there was one more. 12 stars of battle prowess. Needless to say, Xian Yinqing definitely had a 12-star battle prowess. There were countless geniuses in the world. After Lu Ming, another 12-star battle prowess had appeared. The faces of the divine masters and heavenly venerables of the heavenly human clan were already as gloomy as water. Lu Ming, Xian Yinqing. 2 such heaven-defying figures had already appeared. Even in the history of the heavenly human clan, there were not many such figures. The current generation of the heavenly human clan could be said to be very lucky. For 2 such figures to appear at once was already a rare occurrence in hundreds of millions of years. But now, outside of the heavenly human clan, 2 such figures had appeared. This meant that the younger generation of the heavenly human clan could no longer suppress the people of the other clans. It was difficult for them to accept such a thing. This was because such a thing had only happened in a few eras in history. For example, in the era of Fei Huang and Tang Feng. In the end, the facts also proved that after the people of that era became successful, they caused a tremendous impact on the heavenly palace. This impact had not disappeared even now. It was still continuing. They would not allow such a thing to happen again. The eyes of the heavenly venerables of the heavenly palace flickered, revealing cold killing intent. We can't let these people go. That's right. Send the news back. No matter what, we have to transfer some people here. After the highest supreme immortal city disappears, we have to kill all these people. The heavenly venerables secretly discussed. Where are we going to find the manpower? Demons are launching frequent attacks in the dark universe right now. There are plenty of Origin realm demons, so we need many experts to guard against them. I can only transfer them from the ruins of the universe. At worst, I'll give up a portion of the benefits. However, these people must be eliminated. Once they succeed and join forces with Fei Huang, Tang Feng, and the others, the danger is too great. That's right, I agree. Let's spread the news. After several Empyrean-level characters finished their discussion, someone secretly spread the news. After Xian Yinqing defeated a Son of Heaven, there was another battle that attracted everyone's attention. That was a battle between 2 heavenly humans. Of the 2 celestial tribe members, one of them was a Son of Heaven with an unparalleled battle prowess of 11 stars. As for the other heavenly human tribe member, she was not one of the 9 heavenly sons and heavenly daughters, so she did not attract the attention of others before. But this time, it attracted everyone's attention. Facing this Son of Heaven, not only did he not admit defeat, but he was also very relaxed and calm. After Son of Heaven's words made the other side concede to no avail, he directly attacked. However, the result of the battle stunned everyone. That son of heaven was actually at a disadvantage. Moreover, it was not just a little but a complete disadvantage. He was suppressed the entire time. In less than 10 moves, that son of heaven was defeated. He coughed up blood and left the battle stage. Everyone was dumbfounded, and then there was an uproar. Of course, after the heavenly human tribe members were shocked, they were ecstatic. Because a dark horse had appeared in the heavenly human tribe, a peerless monster whose reputation was not very famous before. Even those Empyrean-level characters were ecstatic. What is this child's name? How come I've never heard of him before? Empyrean asked. A peerless monster who could easily defeat a son of heaven? How come I've never heard of him before? Lord Empyrean, I know this child. His name is Yi Qiuxian. In the past, his performance was not particularly outstanding among the younger generation, so he was overlooked by everyone. Now it seems that this child was too low-key in the past and knew how to endure. But now he has shocked the world with a single feat and soared into the sky. A divine Lord Realm heavenly human hurriedly replied. Yi Qiuxian good. The few Empyreans nodded and said good repeatedly. This Yi Qiuxian actually has such combat strength. Yi Chu Tianji and Yi Ling Hongye both frowned as they felt a strong pressure. To be able to defeat an 11-star son of heaven in just 10 moves, needless to say, Yi Qiuxian also had a 12-star combat strength, which was the same as them. Needless to say, the internal competition of the heavenly human tribe would be even more intense in the future. They had another strong opponent. More people were sighing. There were really too many experts this time. They kept appearing as if there was no end to them. In the past, 11-star combat strength was already the peak and was extremely rare in the entire universe. But now there were one after another. Even 12-star combat strength, which could suppress an era in the universe, kept appearing. First it was Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Now even the heavenly human tribe had appeared. Many people sighed. This was an era of dazzling stars. It was an extraordinary era. It was very likely that the glorious era of 60 solar years ago would be recreated. 60 solar years ago, that era was also filled with dazzling stars. In the heavenly human tribe, experts were as common as clouds and terrifying sky prides. It was the same for the other tribes. There were even 2 taboos, Tang Feng and Flying Phoenix. That was an era of endless glory. In the end, the War of Annihilation broke out. Was such a glorious era going to be recreated? This person, Lu Ming, carefully sized up Yi Qiuxian. For some reason he felt a strong pressure in his heart. Yes, this was an automatic feeling. He felt that Yi Qiuxian wasn't a simple person. He probably hadn't revealed his true strength in the previous battle. Perhaps this will be a terrifying opponent. A thought emerged in Lu Ming's heart. The heavenly human tribe was indeed not simple and couldn't be underestimated. At this time, Lu Ming had already gone through 9 rounds of the competition. He didn't make a move during these 9 rounds. Those who met Lu Ming directly admitted defeat. After all, the gap was too obvious. The gap between him and the others was at least 2 stars. If there was a gap of 1 star, they might still be able to put up a fight and win. But the gap of 2 stars was too big. The possibility of winning was extremely small. Lu Ming easily obtained 9 consecutive victories. On their battle stage, Ling Yue and Yi Chuyue also easily obtained 9 consecutive victories. However, at the beginning of the 10th round, Lu Ming finally met an interesting opponent. Yi Chuyue. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.